29th. I'm Debbie Monterrey.
St. Louis County is counting the unhoused population today. I'm Michael Calhoun with the latest.
I'm Scott Jagow.
An arrest is made in what the St. Louis police chief calls a horrible act of violence. I'm Maria Aquino with details.
This is AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg. Mostly cloudy and very cold today. A flurry or two late, the high 26.
Big couple days in college hoops for the local teams. Illinois and SLU coming off massive wins and trying to avoid a letdown. I'm Brian Feldman. Sports in 15 minutes.
Coming up in CBS News, new video coming to light of an encounter between Alex Preddy and federal officers in Minneapolis days before his shooting. At the Tone, it's 6 o'clock in Mid-America.
News, talk, cards. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting. I'm Christopher Cruz. Representatives of more than 30 organizations gathered outside the VA headquarters in Minneapolis yesterday.
Stop killing our neighbors! Stop killing our neighbors! Stop!
They were there to mourn Alex Preddy, a former ICU nurse at the VA who was shot and killed by CPB agents this month. Newly discovered video shows him in a confrontation with ICE agents about 2 weeks before he was killed. CBS's Jared Hill has that.
The footage confirmed by Preddy's family shows the 37-year-old with others. As agents drive away, Preddy kicks out a taillight. The agents get out, tackle Preddy to the ground. They also fire some tear gas into the crowd. Eventually, Preddy is seen hurrying away. The agents leave.
The chief federal judge in Minnesota has some strong things to say about the attitude of immigration and customs enforcement officials toward the law.
Judge Patrick Schultz says ICE has disobeyed at least 96 judicial directives stemming from immigration cases this month alone. He says that's more than some federal agencies have violated in their entire existence. The judge wrote, "This list should give pause to anyone, no matter his or her political beliefs." Schultz had ordered ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons to appear in his courtroom Friday to explain the violations, but canceled that after ICE agreed to release an immigrant Schultz ruled had been wrongly detained. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar has made her candidacy for governor of Minnesota official. The campaign came together quickly after Governor Tim Walz ended his campaign for a third consecutive four-year term. There's been increasing scrutiny of his administration's handling of fraud in social services programs. A driver repeatedly rammed a car into a Hasidic Orthodox community center in Brooklyn yesterday. CBS News New York reporter Elijah Westbrook is at the scene.
Officials say thankfully no one was injured in all this. The driver is said to be a man in his 20s, and he was arrested here at the scene. Late last night, city and state leaders called this a serious criminal act and confirmed that the NYPD's Hate Crimes Task Force is now investigating.
Thousands of Mississippians are struggling to stay clean and warm days after an ice storm knocked out power. Jessica Pryor is one of them. She lives in Oxford.
Without the water, unable to just wash your face, wash your hands, not being able to shower is one thing. Of course, there hasn't been any hot water, but that has been difficult.
There's bad news for hundreds of Home Depot employees. CBS's Stacey Lynn.
The company laid off about 800 corporate employees at its Atlanta area store support center. It's also bringing remaining corporate staff back to the office 5 days a week.
This is CBS News.
Follow and listen to the official 48 Hours After Show post-mortem on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
At 6:03, it's cloudy and 18 degrees downtown at the Gateway Arch. Good morning. I'm Scott Jagow.
And I'm Debbie Monterrey. Today, the annual census count of St. Louis County's unhoused population. We get more from Michael Calhoun.
St. Louis County officials say the head count is critical for securing the money needed to fight homelessness. The point-in-time count is a requirement from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. County officials say the data gathered during the 4-hour sweep is essential for assessing current programs and winning future grants for housing services. Teams will be canvassing the county. They started at 5 and they'll finish by 9 a.m., and they are offering immediate shelter to anybody who wants it.
Michael reports those who say they'd rather stay on the street will get bags filled with coats, gloves, hats, and hygiene products.
She's worked with the homeless on the streets for 20 years, and Catherine Shaw of All Among Us says this is the first time enough shelter has been made available for the homeless in the city of St. Louis. The bad news is She and her volunteers have seen at least 100 people still outside in the bitter cold.
I ran out of sleeping bags the other day. I ran out of gloves, ran out of hot hands, ran out of thermal underwear. We need scarves. We need warm socks, boots. These are things that will keep people alive in this.
Donations of money or supplies are welcome at All Among Us or allamong.us or on the All Among Us Facebook page.
St. Louis County Police have an endangered person advisory. They say 16-year-old Joy Holt left a note, then ran away from her rural Florissant home Wednesday night. Holt has a paralyzed left arm and walks with a limp. She's described as 5'4", 114-pound black female with black hair, brown eyes, medium complexion, last seen wearing a gray sweatshirt and blue jeans.
After evading law enforcement for more than a month, St. Louis police say they've arrested the suspect in the deaths of a mother and her 9-year-old daughter.
During the investigation, St. Louis Police Chief Robert Tracy says homicide detectives identified the suspect as 40-year-old Michael Antonio McNair Jr.
A child should never be a victim of violence. That reality weighs heavily on every officer involved in this investigation.
45-year-old Latasha Brown and her daughter Paige Buckner were found in their burning home. The autopsy revealed they had been shot. U.S. Marshal Assistant Chief James Tapp arrested McNair in Poplar Bluff.
At the time of the homicide, McNair was supervised by the U.S. Probation Office. He was previously released by BOP September 12th of 2025 and was under active supervision by the United States Probation in Eastern Missouri.
A warrant was issued for McNair for violating the terms of supervised release.
The investigation led them to believe that McNair had possibly fled to the Poplar Bluff area.
Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
A funeral in Ferguson for an 18-year-old became a crime scene, leaving 6 people injured, 3 of them with gunshot wounds. While police have taken several persons of interest into custody and also expect all the victims to survive, Ferguson Police Chief Troy Doyle expressed deep frustration that gun violence has become a daily routine.
It's unfortunate, just not even at a funeral, just every day in our society that, individuals are subjected to gunshots. I mean, it's just, I don't know what else to say about that.
Doyle confirms shots were fired both inside and outside of the building.
A man pleads guilty to first-degree murder over a deadly shooting at a Metro East party in the summer of 2023.
The Madison County State's Attorney's Office says 22-year-old Austin Mullins of Alton accepted a deal for his prison sentence to be capped at 40 years. Mullins shot and killed Jacob Wall at a Wood River gathering 2.5 years ago. Sentencing to be held at a later date. Brad Choate, KMOX News.
Inventory of homes could still be an issue for the real estate market this year.
Mark Gelman, real estate advisor with the Gelman team, tells KMOX many homeowners are reluctant to give up their low mortgage rates. He says if you are willing to move, you can't overprice your home thinking you'll get whatever you ask for it.
You can't look back a year. You can't look back a year and a half. First of all, we're looking at really 90 days or less.
Andy points out you have to compare other homes that have sold item for item.
It's what a willing and able buyer is willing to pay for that home. Great priced homes, marketed to the highest level, prepared for sale, are still today getting multiple offers over asking.
Gelman says there's still a lack of affordable houses on the lower end of the market because they're often bought by institutional investors as rental properties. And he adds new builds are often not affordable because of the current cost of land and construction. Megan Lynch, KMOX News.
Why did the Federal Reserve stop cutting interest rates after being so aggressive last year? The central bank says the economy simply keeps chugging along. Stifel's Eric Roberts says the data gave officials enough confidence to hit the pause button.
The announcement noted that available indicators suggest economic activity has been expanding at a solid pace, while the unemployment rate has shown some signs of stabilization.
That stabilization gives the central bank the luxury of waiting to see how the next few months play out in terms of inflation.
It is 6:08, and when we come back, we'll check the roadways and the weather, and the news will continue here on Total Information AM.
Hey, St. Louis City SC fans, mark your calendars now. The Boys in Red return to Energizer Park to kick off Season 4 Saturday, February 21st. And you could be there for the dawn of a new golden era of St. Louis soccer. Go to stlcitysc.com/tickets and reserve your seat now for the MLS home opener versus Charlotte FC. Limited quantities remain. See you soon, St. Louis.
Attention business owners with a net income over $500,000. You need to work with a tax strategist that understands your entrepreneurial mindset. Download the most recent white paper written by E3 Consultants Group titled The power of a professional tax strategy team. Go to e3wealth.com/radio to obtain a copy. It's time to learn about wealth and tax strategies that protect your personal and business economy. E3 is ready to help you think differently about your finances. Educate, empower, enlighten. That's the E3 difference.
Hola, amigos! It's a big noise. Brad Evans from BetMGM tonight. Listen Monday through Friday, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern on Westwood One Sports as we cover the biggest sports stories from coast to coast. Get insights on the NFL playoffs, college basketball conference races, and more. Download the Odyssey app now and listen from anywhere. BetMGM tonight, live and interactive, presented by BetMGM. Tune in, Team Huevos.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
This hour of Total Information AM is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts.
It is 6:10. Time to check on the roads with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Scott, they just called out EMS for a crash. Sounds like it's on Schuessler at Tesson Ferry. That's just south of 270 there, a couple of blocks. So just watch out for emergency crews headed that way. Schuessler at Tesson Ferry. Tesson Ferry looks okay, but I do see some backed up traffic on Schuessler right now. Other than that, the rest of the highways are in great shape. We had a stall earlier briefly at the Poplar Street Bridge. They cleared it a bit ago. Everything's wide open there. It looks good in the work zones. We still have the restrictions on Big Bend southbound Big Bend, south of 64 at Bruno over in Richmond Heights. Just before 2 a.m., a car struck a utility pole and an electric signal pole there. It took them down. So they're working on that. And, of course, there's a local power outage, unfortunately, with this cold weather. Northbound traffic is getting through, but I believe it's just one lane. But if I was southbound or attempting to go southbound, I would avoid Big Bend south of 64. Next update at 6:20 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Mostly cloudy today and colder than yesterday. There'll be a flurry or two around late, the high 26. Mostly cloudy early tonight with a flurry, then some clearing late and bitterly cold down to 4 above. Tomorrow, times of sun and clouds and bitterly cold, the high 18. Another frigid day Saturday with sunshine, some clouds, and a high again 18. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on 104.1 FM KMOX.
We've got cloudy skies, 17 degrees in downtown St. Louis.
Got some big college hoops action coming up. How about Illinois taking down Purdue this week? But could there be a letdown against Washington? I'm Brian Feldman. Sports coming up in 2 minutes.
It's 6:12. The Missouri House Commerce Committee heard a set of bills yesterday that would put income tax on the ballot. Speaker John Patterson's bill proposes a constitutional amendment that would allow the legislature to stop taxing wages. If passed, the measure would go on the ballot this November.
Supporters say it would give Missourians more autonomy over their money. Minority Floor Leader Ashley Awney questions how the legislature would implement the new structure.
Well, I can't imagine what our tax structure looks like when we slash income tax, slash property taxes, and can't pay for anything anymore. But that's a conversation for apparently a future legislature that we trust more than we trust ourselves.
If approved, the legislature would have 3 years to remove the income tax, which brings in more than $9 billion per year for the state.
Meanwhile, Senate Republicans refused to walk across the Capitol for the Chief Justice's annual speech yesterday. That forced its cancellation. The protest is a response to recent court defeats, including rulings that overturned laws regarding voting and the Attorney General's power. State Senator Rick Bratton says lawmakers are getting tired of seeing their work overturned.
They continually make ruling time and time again, throw out laws that put those limitations in place. And then again, they're going to try and tell us what we're going to do today. That's not going to happen.
House Democrats dismissed the speech boycott as a temper tantrum and petty. Some Republicans admitted the court had a, quote, good point about the legislature passing legally questionable omnibus bills.
Former Sangamon County, Illinois Deputy Sean Grayson set to be sentenced today for the second-degree murder of Sonia Massey in the 2024 shooting in her apartment. He faces up to 20 years in prison after a jury convicted him last fall but cleared him of first-degree murder. Karen Waugh has more from Springfield.
After Sean Grayson's trial last October, he was convicted of second-degree murder, which means he's facing anywhere from 4 to 20 years in prison after this sentencing. But there's also a possibility he has probation, which means that he gets no prison time at all. And he's also eligible for parole, which means whatever amount he's sentenced to, he could ultimately serve less than that.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says he understands the concerns of Chicago's mayor and others around the city's potential to host the Democratic National Convention in 2028. He says the Chicago Host Committee has submitted Chicago as a possible location for the DNC in that year and also 2032. But he says he's heard concerns from Mayor Brandon Johnson and others about the Trump administration handling security for such an event, given the president's criticisms of Chicago and ICE agents' actions in the Windy City there and in Minneapolis.
We're going to have to look at all of that. It's way too early to know what the coordination level really would be, but I get it.
Pritzker says the 2024 convention at the United Center went off, as he put it, splendidly.
Good morning. I'm Brian Feldman filling in for Tom Ackerman. Let's start off with some college hoops. Number 9, Illinois plays host to Washington tonight in Champaign. The Illini coming off a massive 6-point win at Purdue this week. That's 9 wins in a row for Illinois since losing to Nebraska in mid-December. Other action in the coming days, 21st-ranked SLU puts their unbeaten conference record on the line tomorrow against Dayton. Tip-off from Schaff at 7 o'clock. SLU coming off a tough 3-point win over George Washington Tuesday night, needing a Robbie Avila 3 with just 3 seconds to go to win it. Dayton, losers of 3 straight games. You can catch the action tomorrow, as always, right here on KMOX. Then on Saturday, Mizzou hosts Mississippi State and Columbia. The Tigers and even 4-4 in SEC play. To hockey, the Blues face off against the Panthers tonight. Face off 7 o'clock at Enterprise Center. Blues coming off a 4-3 loss to Dallas on Tuesday. That is their 5th straight defeat. On to baseball, spring training a few weeks away, and Cardinals players excited about what's to come despite the moves to get younger and provide opportunities for less experienced players. KMOX talked to Alec Burleson at the winter warm-up about the direction of the team, something Burleson says is a good thing for the future.
They're allowing the young guys to kind of showcase what they got for real this time, and we're young, but we have experience, right? Like a lot of these guys have a year or two in the big league, so they know what it's like, they know what to expect. So just going to continue to build towards that, and just super excited to get started with them.
Burleson will take over at first base after the departure of Wilson Contreras, who was traded to Boston. The 27-year-old hit .290 last year with a career-high .801 OPS. He is expected to anchor the lineup once again this season. To the NBA, tears were a-flowing on the face of LeBron James last night when the Lakers visited Cleveland for what could be James's last game in his first NBA city. James was drafted first overall by the Cavaliers back in 2003. Cleveland played a video tribute to LeBron in the first quarter of what ended up being a 129-99 Lakers loss. After the game, James told reporters, "This could be my last season. I obviously have not made a decision, but it very well could be." Other NBA news, St. Louis native Jason Tatum has not made a call on whether he'll return this year from a torn Achilles tendon. The Celtics All-Star tells ESPN he wants to get it right the first time, and there is quite a bit to think about. Tatum injured himself during the playoffs last May. With reports at 15 and 45 past the hour, I'm Brian Feldman on your home for St. Louis Cardinals baseball. KMOX.
Hey, this is Charlie Brennan, along with Dr. Colleen Bosler and Dr. Adam Voss at the Audiology Center. When was the last time you really enjoyed a conversation without straining to hear?
Charlie, so many people think hearing aids just make things louder.
But that's old technology. Today's hearing aids do so much more.
Exactly. With the dual chip technology, our hearing aids actually separate the speech from the background noise.
Which means at a noisy restaurant, you'll hear your friends and family, not the clinking dishes.
And the best part, your brain doesn't have to work overtime trying to fill in the blanks.
So that keeps your mind sharp, your conversations easy, and your relationships stronger.
Because hearing well isn't just about sound, it's about staying connected.
Thanks, Doctor. Call the Audiology Center today to schedule your annual hearing evaluation. Don't miss another moment. Call 636-441-7470 or visit the Audiology Center STL
Hi, Margaret with Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano. Our St. Louis Baseball Cardinals reset last season. Now they're planning for the long term. Have you thought about a long-term plan for your family? A will, a trust, powers of attorney? Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano can guide you with a personalized estate plan. Sign up for our free webinar on our website, yourestateMatters.com. Learn more about estate planning, get some answers, list your questions, then schedule a consultation. You can plan for your family, your favorite charities, taxes, your long-term care, and even your pets now, before the courts do it for you later. Eamon, Gantner, and Capriano, yourestateMatters.com.
The choice of an attorney is an important decision and shouldn't be based solely on advertising.
Now the news at 9, The Talk. The Chris and Amy Show on 104.1 FM KMOX.
At 6:20, an update on the commute. Roger Brand and the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, it doesn't look terrible out there. The highways are doing pretty well so far this morning, Scott. This traffic report's a service of Meadowview Memory Care. Northbound 55 is getting a little slow. Just briefly between Bayless and Weber, a little busy in the construction zone. The rest of the work zone traffic, I don't see any issues yet. 70 out west, 55 down in Festus, 270 around Ladue. Everything's good to go. Still very minimal delays. They called out EMS for a crash, Schuessler at Tesson Ferry. If you're headed that way, there may be some minor restrictions, but it looks like Schuessler just has a little bit of traffic waiting at the signals there, so I don't think it's much of a problem. Tesson Ferry is not impacted by it. Over in Richmond Heights, though, you'll be impacted by restrictions on Big Bend at Bruno, southbound especially. The southbound lanes at last check were still shut down. Northbound was getting traffic through. Short backups in the area due to an overnight crash that took out a power and electric signal pole and unfortunately powered a few hundred customers in the area. Next update at 6:30 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Discover Meadowview Memory Care in Arnold, a small, secure community on a beautiful campus. Enjoy peace of mind with all our inclusive rates and comfortable private suites. Schedule your tour today at rspseniorliving.com.
Weather-wise, it's going to remain cold. Our high today, just 23 degrees. We could see a flurry or two later today and into tonight. An overnight low of 4. And then it doesn't get much warmer for tomorrow and Saturday. Highs both days of 18 degrees. Right now it's 17 downtown.
The news continues at 6:22. Former KSDK news anchor Rennie Knott recently took a new position at Lift for Life Academy as its executive director.
Knott joined KMOX's Dave Glover yesterday and talked about how weightlifting played an important role in his life and how the activity can help kids' development.
We have a powerlifting team.
Okay.
So our powerlifting team is pretty dang good. They just competed over at McKendree University a couple of months back and did well, and preparing for a meet now in March. And so what I'm trying to do is bring some of my weightlifting friends in to do some demonstrations from time to time about, what they bench press, squat, and things like that, and how weightlifting helped them get to where they are today. And so as an athlete, and you as an athlete, as a person who's lifted weights, you know what weightlifting did for you in other parts of your life. Weightlifting taught me that if I pushed hard enough and stayed at it long enough, I could achieve what it is that I wanted to get. Well, then I started to implying that in everywhere else. The other thing, too, was as I got stronger, just my overall confidence in me to walk into rooms went up. Suddenly, I was this guy that had this muscle and this strength, and I go, I'm not afraid of anybody anymore. I'm not afraid to be seen. I can stand up. And I'm hoping that those are the things that the kids are learning who are taking part in the weightlifting besides the achievements of winning medals.
Couldn't agree more. I was always an athlete, but really got into weightlifting in college. And I remember, and when you're 21, 22, you're just full of testosterone and everything works, right?
Yeah.
But I just remembered A plus B equals C. I do this and my body has no choice. It's going to respond.
Right.
And then the little click goes off and you're like, I wonder if anything else in life's like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's when I remember my mother would always say this to me. She'd always go, what are all those muscles going to do for you in life? As if to say, what are you doing?
What a waste.
But then at the same time, I kind of felt the same way. Like, yeah, I guess outside of playing football, what can it do for me? But what it did for me was just basically gave me a blueprint for life.
Yeah.
And I think that's how weightlifting will help apply to the kids, because not all of them are going to win medals. Not all of them are going to win trophies, but they all can win a little bit each day by doing just a little bit more. And they realize that work, gosh, I just got that much better for my little bit of work.
Yeah.
Well, I can do this in the classroom. I can do this, with my friends and everything else. And, we have kids that play basketball, most of the time that they're there. And what we're developing with those kids is organization. We're not just going to run on the court and just throw the ball around. Let's come together and have some 3-on-3 games. Let's abide by the rules. Let's realize that if I don't share the basketball, then my team's not going to win. I can't do it all. I do need to have others in my life. There's things like that are taking place too. And I think one of the other points that I wanted to make is that when it comes to the mentoring, it is so important for the kids to see people who look like them. In other words, other Black professionals come in so that they can see that, oh, I can be that too. They also need to see white faces in there too, so that they know that everybody can get along and everybody does care about one another, and that I don't have to see a white person and think, oh, that person's not good for me. I don't need to see a Black person who hasn't done anything in their lives yet. I can actually see people who are succeeding.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be someone that's a CEO.
Yeah.
It could be the guy that's just making life work for his family.
Yeah.
That's enough.
You can hear the full interview with Running Knot on the Dave Glover Show on the KMOX podcast page.
The new season of a long-awaited steamy streaming series is back today.
Dearest gentle reader,
Season 4 of Bridgerton is a Cinderella story.
We must find the owner of this glove.
This time it's number 2 brother Benedict who finds his match at a masquerade ball.
Mr. Bridgerton.
Do we know one another?
Luke Thompson's Benedict falls for a household maid.
Falling in love and all of that is like one of the most universal things to talk about.
Kieran Ha plays Sophie Beck.
I would love for the audiences to take away that love has no bounds. It doesn't matter about your class or your race.
You sound as if you have been made a new man.
Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Bridgerton Season 4, Part 1 premieres on Netflix today. Part 2 drops on February 26th.
Just ahead of Valentine's Day, new details about the gender gap in heart health. We get that from CBS's Michael George.
Men tend to develop heart disease 10 years earlier than women. A study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association shows that this heart health gender gap has existed for decades and still continues today. Researchers say patients should be assessed for heart attack risk in young adulthood so prevention strategies can be implemented.
It is 6:27, and the time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Attention! Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-885-8877. 800-885-8877. Again, that's 800-885-8877.
Attention all dog owners. If you have ever listened to the radio or TV for any length of time, you've probably heard of America's #1 dog supplement, Rough Greens. Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, Amazon best-selling author and founder of Rough Greens here. And if your dog suffers from bad breath, itchy skin, licking paws, joint pain, or low energy, the truth is their food is probably to blame. You see, all commercial dog food is dead food. That's why I created Rough Greens. One daily scoop gives your pup the live vitamins, omega oils, probiotics, and enzymes that will bring their food back to life. Don't believe me? Let your dog try it before you buy it. I'll send you a free Jumpstart trial bag risk-free. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com. That's ruffgreens.com. Use discount code NEWS. Don't wait. Give your dog the gift of vibrant health. Order now. It'll be at your house in a few days. Go to roughgreens.com. That's ruffgreens.com. Discount code NEWS for your free Jumpstart trial bag today. Rough Green. We make any dog food better.
I dared Archwell Health to keep track of my vitals and my grandkids' names.
I dared Archwell Health to simplify my prescriptions, so Max and I have more time to play. Good boy.
And I dared Archwell Health to be closer than my neighborhood coffee shop.
Our members dared us to do more as a primary care provider for adults age 60 and up. So we made it our mission. Visit archwellhealth.com and become a member today. Archwell Health. We dare to care.
SSM Health welcomes the St. Louis Golf Expo January 30th through February 1st at St. Charles Convention Center. Buy big brands with Pro-Am Golf, test your skills, and win prizes while they last. VIP tickets at stlgolfexpo.com.
At 6:30, it's partly cloudy and temperatures have actually dropped this morning. It's now only 14 degrees downtown at the Gateway Arch. Good morning. I'm Scott Jagow.
And I'm Debbie Monterrey, along with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
We're doing all right out there for the most part. Getting a little busier, but all in all, it's really not bad. The only place I'm really seeing any significant slowdowns is going to be northbound 55 from Bayless all the way up through River to Perry. A little busy at Holly Hills after that. Just a general slowdown through there, but it looks good down in Festus. Mentioned that crash earlier, Schuessler, Tesson Ferry. They should have it wrapped up. At least it's not impacting Tesson Ferry, and I barely see a delay at Schuessler. Union at Revis Barracks, though, in South County, they're reporting an injury crash now as well. North 270 from 55 all the way up through the work zone at Ladue looks good. They had a report of a stalled tractor trailer westbound 70 near Forestel, just west of Forestel, I believe. I don't see any delays there, so that's a good sign. And for Illinois drivers downtown, we're just a little slow again at the Illinois end of the Poplar Street Bridge coming westbound. And don't forget, we still have the restrictions. Big Bend southbound at Bruno over in Richmond Heights, south of 64, still shut down. Northbound traffic is getting through. That's due to an overnight crash. Next update at 6:40 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Today, mostly cloudy. Temperatures not getting up above 25. It'll be about 23 degrees this afternoon, dropping back down to 4 overnight. We could see a few flurries, nothing significant, but do watch those unprotected pipes at 4 degrees. Tomorrow and Saturday, both days, high around 18 degrees. And then we do get closer to freezing on Sunday and Monday, 30 and 33. As I said earlier, it's 14 downtown at the Arch.
An overnight crash on Big Bend in Maplewood forced the closure of the road in both directions and knocked out power to about 300 homes and businesses. Police say a car slammed into a utility pole and the driver was taken to the hospital for treatment. The estimated restoration time for power is sometime after 7, and we've been told.
Could the family of a protester killed by federal agents sue? We asked our legal analyst, Brad Young.
Yeah, and I anticipate that they will.
He says it'll come down to one thing.
If a law enforcement officer is lawfully following the Constitution in their acts, then they cannot be sued civilly for what happens.
A preliminary report indicates 2 federal officers fired their guns in the shooting death of Alex Preddy during the Minnesota ICE protest over the weekend.
Senator Eric Schmidt is laying the blame for unrest in Minneapolis squarely on the previous administration. In a speech on the Senate floor, Schmidt defended the aggressive tactics used in Operation Metro Surge, arguing they're a necessary response to years of neglect.
The Biden administration did something that has no precedent in American history. They intentionally opened our border to a full-scale invasion and actively sought to block any and every attempt to fight back.
Schmidt says that while the loss of life is a tragedy, he believes the bloodshed is the result of political resistance in Minnesota, not the actions of federal agents carrying out orders.
Switching gears now, when it comes to the World Cup, Kansas City will host games in June and July. What about St. Louis?
There is a good likelihood that we'll host a team, one of the countries. I don't know. I mean, we haven't heard who that would be yet at this stage, but there's been a few representatives from different delegations that have been walking around the facility.
That would be Energizer Park in downtown West. Dale Schilly, the city's academy coach, tells KMOX, hopefully St. Louis will get to host a team for training and prep at least.
The news is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. It is 6:34, and coming up next, we've got your Money Minute from Bloomberg. Stay tuned to 104.1 FM KMOX.
Hey, Happy New Year, big boy. Hey, what's up, Izzy? Also known as the Kool-Aid Man. You got any New Year's resolutions?
I got one, Eddie. I've promised myself to spend more time on that toasty, warm, huge, heated outdoor patio of yours. It's nothing like having your coat off, drinking the coldest beer in town with hundreds of your family, friends.
Man, it is a toasted patio, and that's a great resolution. And, thanks for not mentioning things like weight loss and health kick. And those would be hard in Fast Eddie's. It'd be hard to lose any kind of weight or take away from anything when you got the 5-pound Fat Eddie burger, the hot chick on a stick, that big Elwood on a stick, and those succulent peel-in to eat shrimp.
Yeah, I am not losing any weight hanging around your place. I learned it's a lot easier just to make those resolutions simple and fun, buddy.
Man, and that's easy. You're right. That's a great resolution. So make your resolution fun. And head on over to Fast Eddie's Bon Air. You know where to go across that big, beautiful Clark Bridge and come into Alton, Illinois. So like Mr. Shannon always said, if you're 21 and in the mood, we'll see you at Fast Eddie's Bon Air.
Kool-Aid Man.
It's 6:35, and your money report is sponsored by Eamon Gantner and Capriano, elder law attorneys.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Job cuts are on the way at Home Depot. The home improvement retailer is eliminating roles associated with its store support center. Meantime, Home Depot is also telling its corporate staff that they have to return to the office 5 days a week. High interest rates have forced consumers to hit the pause button on big ticket purchases and housing projects that require financing. This has weighed on shares of Home Depot. Microsoft spending has surged to a record high as the company invests heavily in artificial intelligence. However, sales in its cloud computing business has slowed, sending the tech giant lower in early trading. But that's not stopping the markets this morning. S&P futures are up 13 points, Dow futures rising 50. And the turnaround efforts at Southwest Airlines are starting to pay off. The carrier reporting quarterly earnings that topped Wall Street expectations. This week, Southwest transitioned from its longtime open seating program to assigned seating. Courtney Donahoe, Bloomberg Radio.
Last year, I had back pain radiating down my right leg. The pain was so bad I was willing to cut my leg off to stop the pain. I could barely walk and had to stoop over when I did just to take pressure off the spine. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. In my professional career, I've represented thousands of people who've had herniated discs and issues with their neck and back, but never fully appreciated what they were going through until it was my turn. It's like trying to describe colors to a blind person who's never had sight. All I can tell you is it hurt like hell, but worse. My daily walk was gone, and that bothered me a great deal. Then I thought of all of you and how much more devastating this type of injury could be for you. My life stopped. I now feel your pain. Just know at Morgan & Morgan, we got your back. I understand. Morgan means more.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
In times that feel uncertain, music can bring us together. Join the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra for Prokofiev and Child's Anthems of Resilience. Experience a shared journey of hope through Prokofiev's Symphony No. 5, Rena Esmail's Remember, and Billy Child's Diaspora, featuring saxophonist Stephen Banks. February 6th and 7th at Powell Hall at the Jack C. Taylor Music Center. Tickets at slso.org.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
This is the Gas House Gang from KMOX.
Bernie Nicholas and the Gas House Gang, today at noon on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
It is now 6:38, and the weekend's ice storm still has people in parts of the South reeling. The AP's Lisa Dwyer reports on how one elderly woman survived until her power was restored in Tennessee.
87-year-old Nancy Dillon spent 3 days without heat or power on her family farm in the rural outskirts of Nashville before electricity was restored.
my Eve lights off and on to let them know that I appreciated what they had done.
Dylan used her wood-burning fireplace sparingly and was able to cook, but likens her experience to an 18th century Jane Eyre novel. After a couple of days, her phone battery was dying and discovered that her backup battery pack wasn't working.
That's when I got a little bit of alarmed because, if I were to fall or if I were to need somebody, there would be no way to get help.
But she discovered a trick.
My iPad charged it. Did you know that?
Dylan lives on top of a hill and says she won't be leaving the house anytime soon.
I've got plenty of books. I'm getting out a 1,000-piece puzzle in a few minutes, and I might clean up the house a little bit. Who knows?
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The Library of Congress is adding 25 movies to the National Film Registry.
The new additions include The Truman Show.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Clueless.
As if.
The Karate Kid.
No such thing, bad student, only bad teacher.
And Pixar's The Incredibles.
Where is my super suit?
Inception, The Big Chill, White Christmas, and Philadelphia were also added.
Streets of Philadelphia.
As were 6 silent films released before 1926. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
It is 6:40. We'll tell you what the forecast looks like in just a moment. First, we're going to check on the roads. We do have one issue we've been following. Roger Brand's in the overhead door company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Yeah, and it's still, the restrictions are still in place there, Scott. We're talking about Big Bend, southbound Big Bend at Bruno is still shut down from an overnight crash. Northbound lanes are getting through, so southbound you may want to avoid the area. Northbound, it's probably going to be slow because of all the flashing lights and everything going on the southbound side, but the choice is yours what you want to do there. I got a couple of minor incidents. I'm looking at a crash right now. It looks like it's in the left-hand lane, westbound 44 on the ramp to get onto North 270. So just pay attention as you're heading through that area. It's just a little slow right now there. Northbound 270 itself, Doherty Ferry up to Manchester, and then midway up from Manchester to 64, it gets heavy one more time. Have an incident. It looks like it's mostly over to the right shoulder, maybe in the right lane. It's hard to tell in the dark, but it's eastbound 64 right at Prospect. Eastbound 64 is jammed back to Highway 70. It was a car that struck, I think, a bumper that was in the roadway and suffered damage because of it. Northbound 55, you got slow traffic from Bayless all the way up through Holly Hills. Eastbound 70 looks great. Wentzville all the way into downtown. Downtown westbound, just a hint of a slowdown at the Poplar Street Bridge. No big deal there. And we have also an injury crash reported at Union and Rivas Barracks. You may find minor restrictions and delays at that location. Next update at 6:50 from the overhead door company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
It is now 6:41. We need to talk to our AccuWeather meteorologist, Joe Lundberg. The temperatures were not so bad yesterday, Joe, but things are going to get downright frigid.
Yeah, the next wave of Arctic air is rolling in as we speak. The winds have kind of turned northeast behind this little front. And today's going to stay mostly cloudy. I mean, it'll be bright. There'll be some sun that gets through the clouds, but there's still going to be plenty of them around. Temperature will rise very little. 26 is about the best we can hope for. There might even be a couple of snow flurries around later this afternoon to this evening. Gradually, skies clear, and by morning, we're going to see temperatures down to as low as 4 in the area. Maybe some areas to the north and east could get close to 0. Tomorrow, a frigid day. Despite some sun, our high on the 18 and more the same on Saturday. Now, Sunday gets cloudier and not as cold, and there might be a bit of snow or flurries in the afternoon from a weak disturbance moving through. I don't think it's much, the high 30. Behind that, still pretty cold on Monday with clouds, some sun, and a high of 33, just not at the deep freeze on Monday. Right now, it's 19 at St. Peter's, down to 20 in Florissant, mostly cloudy, and 24 downtown at the Arch. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Thank you, Joe. It is 6:43. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley is weighing in on the assault of Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar at a town hall in Minneapolis. She was sprayed with an unknown substance by a man who rushed the stage. This was on Tuesday night. Hawley says while he deals with vocal opposition constantly, disrupting meetings and attacking officials is unacceptable.
You could disagree with somebody, and if you want to go to somebody's event, listen, I have protesters at my events all the time, that's First Amendment protected. You want to go protest, have at it, but you don't assault people.
Police have not yet released a motive for this attack.
President Trump and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer reportedly close to a deal that would avert a partial government shutdown. Schumer wants to take a DHS funding bill out of the larger package of spending bills ahead of tomorrow's deadline. CBS's Jared Hill says the proposals Democrats want could be addressed in an executive order. As for the specifics,
they say they want key changes to, in particular, one of the bills related to the Department of Homeland Security. What they're looking for here are a requirement that federal agents wear body cameras as well as not wear masks while they're out in the field.
The president's use of the Alien Enemies Act to target foreign gangs prompts heated debate in the Senate. Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois pressed the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, on what she calls the contradiction of using a wartime law against the country the administration says the U.S. is not actually fighting.
Mr. Secretary, last March, the president invoked the Alien Enemies Act, a notorious wartime law last used for Japanese internment. He said that he was responding to the Maduro regime's supposed invasion or other acts of war against the United States. But in recent weeks, you, the Department of Justice, and our friends across the aisle have repeatedly said that we are not at war with Venezuela.
Secretary Rubio defends the move. He argues while there's no conventional war with Venezuela, criminal groups like Tren de Aragua are waging an unconventional war on American communities.
there's word of an upgraded trade agreement between the European Union and Vietnam.
Vietnam has upgraded its relationship with the European Union as European Council President Antonio Costa visits its capital, Hanoi. European Council President Antonio Costa was given a warm and illustrious welcome by Vietnam as he met with Vietnam's president in the country's capital. The result of the meeting, a comprehensive strategic partnership, Vietnam's highest diplomatic level. This change places the EU on the same diplomatic footing as the US, China, and Russia. European Council President Antonio Costa emphasized the importance of the agreement.
At a moment when international rules-based order is under threat from multiple sides, we need to start to stand side by side as reliable and predictable partners.
Vietnam's President Luong Quang called the move a historic milestone. This partnership comes as both regions recalibrate trade amid global financial disruptions driven by US tariff pressure. I'm Karen Shemas.
Good morning. I'm Brian Feldman filling in for Tom Ackerman. Spring training not far off as the Cardinals look to surprise some teams in 2026. They've dealt away some big names: Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, Nolan Arenado, maybe Brendan Donovan at some point. It's all part of a youth movement, putting the youngest and best up-and-coming talent on the field to bring the next great Cardinals team, and no one exemplifies that more than J.J. Weatherholt, the Cardinals' top pick from 2024 out of West Virginia, commonly viewed as one of the best players in the entire minor leagues, and he could make his big league debut early this season. Weatherholt tells KMOX he feels strongly about the direction this franchise is headed.
The easiest way to put it is, for me, it's like return on investment. You know, I'm a finance guy, so sometimes you got to take risks, and you might want to throw more money in this stock because you think it'll have a higher return, and it's the same concept in baseball. These teams that have these great minor league systems and are even producing at the big league level, they're pouring a massive amount of money on their guys. They're taking a risk, spending a ton of money on them, if that's from the development side, if it's food, if it's nutrition, if whatever it is, that's what they're doing. And the hope is that later down the road, they're going to win more games and in turn make the club more money. So that's kind of the risk that you've got to take. And it seems like, the new front office is willing to do so.
Weatherholt will absolutely get his chance to make the club out of spring training, which starts in just a few weeks. College hoops, number 9 Illinois plays Washington tonight in Champaign. The Illini coming off a massive 6-point win at Purdue this week. Other action in the coming days, 21st-ranked SLU puts their unbeaten conference record on the line tomorrow against Dayton, which has lost 3 straight games. Then on Saturday, Mizzou hosts Mississippi State in Columbia. The Tigers 14-7 on the year so far. Other NBA news, St. Louis native Jason Tatum has not made a call on whether or not he'll return this year from a torn Achilles. The Celtics All-Star tells ESPN he wants to get it right. Tatum injured himself during the playoffs last May. And in hockey, the Blues face off against the Panthers this evening, face off 7 o'clock from Enterprise Center. The Blues coming off a 4-3 loss to Dallas Tuesday, which was their 5th straight defeat. With reports at 15 and 45 past the hour, I'm Brian Feldman on your home for St. Louis Cardinals baseball.
It's about time pros had one partner for the whole job. Why juggle 10 different suppliers when one can do it all? At the Home Depot, you'll save with pricing built for pros. You'll stay on track with job site deliveries, schedule, next day, or same day. And you'll get every size, every finish, every job lot quantity you need. One partner for the entire job. That's how pros get more done. The Home Depot Pro. It's about time.
Too many tools, too much stress, and way too many bills.
Odoo replaces it all. One connected platform for every part of your business, so you can work faster, smarter, and for less. Odoo, the only software you'll ever need. Try it free today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Soulard is going to the dogs. Make sure to bring your four-legged friend to the streets of Soulard for the 33rd annual Purina Pet Parade, the world's largest costume pet parade. It all starts at 12th and Allen, Sunday, February 8th at 1 p.m. And KMOX's own Dave Glover will be leading the pack as the parade's Grand Marshal. Sign up today to march in the parade with your dog. The event supports Open Door Animal Sanctuary. For more details, PurinaPetParade.com. Don't miss this annual St. Louis Mardi Gras tradition, sponsored by Purina. Big game, big screen, big energy at Ballpark Village, Sunday, February 8th. Enjoy the big game like you're in the end zone, featuring in-arena touchdown celebrations, fan cams, contest VIP packages, and more, hosted by RDJ and DJ Dex. Save up to $10 on tickets with code KMOX. Tickets and event details at stlballparkvillage.com/events. For more information, KMOX.com/events.
Now the news at 1 the fun. It's the Dave Glover Show on 104.1 FM KMOX.
At 6:50, we're checking traffic and weather together. We'll start with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, the highways aren't bad. There's some volume here and there. Scott, I think the busiest or the biggest backup we have right now is out west. I mentioned that incident, minor crash where a vehicle struck debris. If you want to call that a crash, I guess, but it's eastbound 64 to East of Prospect, over to the right side of the highway. It looks like it's on the shoulder, maybe in the right lane. It's just hard to tell right now. But delays back past Wentzville Parkway on southbound 61. In fact, it's almost midway between P and Wentzville Parkway down onto 64, up past that crash scene. Northbound Highway 270 from Big Bend all the way up to Ladue, there are slow stretches, not a solid delay all the way through there. Northbound 55, Balos up through Holly Hills is heavy. On the secondaries, they called out EMS for a crash. Tesson Ferry near Butler Hill, and they called out more EMS for the crash at Union and Rivas Barracks. I'm seeing backups in all directions there. Downtown, westbound 64, a little slow at the 70 split, and then approaching Route 3 to the Poplar. And we still have the restrictions southbound Big Bend at Bruno in Richmond Heights from an overnight crash, so you may want to avoid southbound Big Bend there, south of 64. Next update at 6:58 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Weather-wise, we are looking at a cold day today. We're only going to get up to 23 degrees. It'll be cloudy and maybe a flurry or two later in the day into this evening. And then overnight, it gets really cold. We'll have a low around 4 tomorrow and Saturday. Not much better. Warming up to just 18 degrees both days. It's 17 right now.
The news continues at 6:52. How do we move St. Louis forward and find solutions to some of the region's biggest challenges? Those are some of the topics of discussion tonight at Leading Through Change. It's a free presentation at the Missouri History Museum.
Focus St. Louis CEO Dr. Yemi Akandi Barch will moderate the conversation that includes Missouri Historical Society President Dr. Jody Sowell, U-City School Superintendent Dr. Sharonica Hardin-Bartley, Affinia Healthcare's Dr. Kendra Holmes, and Cortex CEO Sam Fiorello. The presentation starts at 6:30.
Missouri Governor Kehoe wants to get rid of the state's income tax. Yesterday, the Republican-led House began the process of putting that choice to voters. Democrats say voters may not have the information they need to make an informed choice, however.
House Speaker John Patterson's bill would eliminate wage taxes in Missouri and give legislators 3 years to implement a new tax structure. Kansas City Democratic Representative Patty Manser says the proposed 3-year rollout of the plan means voters won't know what they'd be approving if the measure shows up on this November's ballot.
Because if a Missourian votes, yes, I want you to move forward, they're going to have very little say in how that spools out.
Patterson disagrees, saying getting rid of the income tax, which makes up a majority of all state revenue, will give people more control over their cash. I'm Alex Gribb.
New research suggests Benjamin Franklin was onto something when he professed his early to bed, early to rise theory. CBS's Michael George on the heart impacts of burning the midnight oil.
Being a night owl could be bad for your heart. A study in the UK found that middle-aged and older adults who are more active in the evenings tended to have worse cardiovascular health than people who are more active in the daytime. Night owls' unhealthy behaviors like poor diet, insufficient sleep, and smoking may be the reason for the disparity.
Meanwhile, a new study suggests the driving habits of older adults can reveal early warning signs of dementia.
Researchers tracked the driving habits of hundreds of drivers ages 65 and older for several years. Those who started braking harder or getting in accidents were more likely to develop white matter damage in the back of the brain, an early warning sign of cognitive decline. Study co-author Chaling Pua.
The way that older adults drive can quietly reflect what's happening in their brain long before any major memory problems appear.
The study also found drivers who were taking blood pressure medications were less likely to show unsafe driving behaviors. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
U.S. life expectancy hit an all-time high in 2024.
It's 79 years, according to numbers just out from the CDC, and it's the highest ever. CDC's National Center for Health Statistics cites the drop in COVID-19 infections and also lower death rates from heart disease, cancer, and drug overdoses. Heart disease remains the nation's leading cause of death, even as its fatality rate dropped 3% for the second year in a row, attributed to better medical treatment and weight management. Despite some good news here, the U.S. still ranks below dozens of other countries for longevity. Michael Toscano, CBS News, Washington.
I heard it's somebody's birthday.
Birthday excitement. It's your birthday.
Today's KMOX birthday shout out is sponsored by Renner Garage Door, RENNER, forward and back, family owned and top rated, RennerDoorSTL.com. On this January 29th, happy birthday to Tom Selleck, who's 81. Oprah Winfrey turns 72. Actress Heather Graham is 56. And actress Sarah Gilbert is 51.
Remember, if you would like a birthday or anniversary announced during our birthday segment, just email it to totalam@kmox.com, totalam@kmox.com. Happy birthday wishes going out to Shelly Thomas and Adrian Neville. Also, happy birthday, Terry Verzal from the Life Group.
This is the best birthday ever.
Well, there are home builders in the area, and then there's McKelvey Homes. McKelvey Homes is the oldest home builder in the state of Missouri. McKelvey Homes goes back to 1898 here in St. Louis. McKelvey Homes choosing the best home sites in St. Louis County, St. Charles County, and beyond. And they also give back. I love that about them. Every home that they sell, 1898, the year they were founded, $1,898 back to a nonprofit. This has been the mission of President Jim Brennan and his wife Rose for many years. McKelvey Homes is a great company. Back to those home sites. They choose the best for you, the ones that are closest in proximity to the great school districts and all the amenities, outdoor living. They want to make sure that you love your home, and they will follow through every step of the way. McKelvey Homes. Move up to McKelvey. Visit them online at McKelveyHomes.com. That's McKelveyHomes.com.
Join Mark Patrick Hypnosis. Lose the weight or stop smoking. Guaranteed only $59.99. Saturday, March 7th at the Comfort Inn Westport Event Center in St. Louis. Weight loss hypnosis starts at 11 a.m. Registration at 10:30 a.m. Stop smoking starts at 2 p.m. Registration 1:30 p.m.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
What if every time you spent money, you saved money too? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can do just that. Every debit card purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar, and the spare change goes right into your savings. And here's the best part. Together Credit Union boosts your progress by matching qualifying savings up to $8 a month. It's a free checking account that helps you achieve more automatically. Learn more, or better yet, enroll today at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA.
Being first in line can be very important to homeowners. First in line for the plumber, first in line for the HVAC guy, first at Banner Construction. It's Banner Construction's winter home event, and you can be the first in line this spring and save before the annual price increases. Banner Construction is a James Hardy and Pella replacement windows specialist, and now is the best time to schedule a free in-home consultation with no obligation. Call 314-569-1050 or check them out on the web at bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
Couple minutes before 7, Roger Brand's in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Scott, we just have a short delay at westbound 44 coming through Geyer to the 270 ramp. The ramp to northbound 270, the left lane is blocked by a car that hit a snowbank and slid off the road there. Northbound 270 itself, just kind of slow north of Manchester up to 64. Eastbound 64, we had that incident near Prospect. Looks like they cleared it, but traffic is still slow from about Highway P, and it jams as you get to Wentzville Parkway onto 64 up through Prospect. After that, you're in much better shape. Northbound 55, just a little busy. River to Pear, Holly Hills area. Westbound 64, a little slow on the Poplar. Next update at 7:10 from the Overhead Door Company St. Louis Traffic Center.
Today is Thursday, January 29th. I'm Debbie Monterrey.
U.S. Marshals arrest a man accused of a heinous crime. I'm Maria Aquino with the story.
I'm Scott Jagow.
St. Louis County Police sent volunteers out before sunrise today. I'm Michael Calhoun with Why.
This is AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg. A cold day today with plenty of clouds, even a flurry or two late, the high 26.
Big couple days in college hoops for the local teams. Illinois and SLU coming off massive wins and trying to avoid a letdown. I'm Brian Feldman. Sports in 15 minutes.
In CBS News, at least 60 deaths are now blamed on this weekend winter storm, the latest coming up at 7.
Celebrating 100 years of informing and entertaining. KMOX AM St. Louis, KMOX FM Hazelwood, the voice of St. Louis.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Christopher Cruz. We've learned that Alex Pretty had a confrontation with ICE agents in Minneapolis about 2 weeks before federal agents shot and killed him. Details from CBS's Lana Zach.
Footage shows the 37-year-old yelling and cursing at federal immigration agents on January 13th. At one point, he's seen kicking their car and breaking its right taillight. Officers then exit the vehicle and tackle him while deploying tear gas into the surrounding crowd. After a brief scuffle, Pretty is released. The officers return to their cars and drive away.
Minnesota's four-term Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar says she's running for governor. She made the announcement in a video.
I'm running for every Minnesotan who wants ICE and its abusive tactics out of the state we love.
Klobuchar ran for president in 2020. During the campaign, numerous former employees characterized her as a difficult, insulting, highly critical, even bullying boss. Thousands of homes and businesses in Mississippi still have no heat, electricity, or water days after an ice storm came through, and it may be days more before power is restored. Oxford Mayor Robin Tannehill.
It's going to be a long road to recovery. You know, it's hard to even get our minds that far ahead right now when we still have people without power and without water. We're still really in emergency mode.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is defending a Justice Department investigation of Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell over Powell's testimony before a Senate committee about the renovation of several Fed office buildings. Bessent spoke to CBS's Kelly O'Grady.
The message is that independence does not mean no accountability. I've been calling for the Fed to do an internal investigation on numerous things since last spring.
Powell has called the investigation part of a campaign to pressure central bank officials into more aggressively cutting interest rates. Yesterday, the Fed decided to keep rates unchanged. The Library of Congress is adding 25 movies to the National Film Registry. Here's CBS's Michael Wallace.
The new additions include The Truman Show.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Clueless.
As if.
The Karate Kid.
No such thing, bad student, only bad teacher.
And Pixar's The Incredibles.
Where is my super suit?
Inception, The Big Chill, White Christmas, and Philadelphia were also added.
Streets of Philadelphia.
As were 6 silent films released before 1926.
Futures are up slightly across the board at this hour. This is CBS News.
Follow and listen to CBS News Roundup on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The second I see that Chick-fil-A text in the group chat, I'm throwing my shoes on and running out the door.
Hey, I'm Layla. And I'm Kaylin. And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit is how it feels like an easygoing morning. The chicken adds the most flavor. It's juicy and seasoned. The biscuit is just very light and airy and fluffy, just like a cloud. I also love to put jelly on mine, so it's sweet and savory. It's a good start to the day.
Mornings are a little bit brighter with the Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit and Simply Orange Juice. Available on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
DQ presents the Spicy Menu. For a limited time, try the new Flamethrower Chicken Strip Basket for $6.99 with spicy, bold strips that heat you up. Served with a side of famous DQ soft serve as a dip to cool you down. That's right, dip those spicy chicken strips right into soft serve. Plus fries and toast, all for just $6.99. And add a new pineapple lemonade sparkler or cooler made with tahini. It's the limited time only Spicy Menu. Get it delivered in the DQ app. Happy, tastes good. Participation.
At 7:04, we have partly cloudy skies. It is 16 degrees downtown at the Gateway Arch. Today is Thursday, January 29th. Good morning. I'm Scott Jagow.
And I'm Debbie Monterrey. A joint effort between state, local, and federal partners led to the arrest of a suspect investigators believe shot and killed a mother and her young daughter, then set their St. Louis home on fire.
St. Louis Police Chief Robert Tracy.
The mother, who was identified as 45-year-old Latasha Brown, and her daughter, identified as 9-year-old Paige Buckner, both died at the hospital from their injuries. Our homicide detectives, including bomb and arson investigators and ATF special agents specializing in arson investigations, responded to the scene. This was a horrible act of violence.
The suspect, 40-year-old Michael Antonio McNair Jr., was taken into custody Tuesday by U.S. Marshals after evading law enforcement for more than a month. Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore says this case involves an act of extreme violence and cruelty. McNair is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, armed criminal action, first-degree arson.
We will leave no stone unturned in prosecuting this heinous crime.
Maria Kina, KMOX News.
A St. Louis man who once was declared mentally unfit to stand trial, this for a 2020 killing of his cousin, has now been sentenced to life in prison with no parole. After being re-examined, 44-year-old Anwar Shands was found guilty last October, and a judge sentenced him this week. His attorney says an appeal is coming.
6 people are recovering after gunfire erupted Wednesday during a funeral service in Ferguson. Police Chief Troy Doyle confirms 3 victims were shot, 3 others injured in the chaos. All are expected to survive. Several people are in custody as investigators try to determine who's responsible for the shootout.
It's still early on in the investigation, but preliminary information showed that some of the gunshots came from outside, and there may also been gunshots that were occurred inside the funeral home.
The shooting happened during a service for an 18-year-old. Police have recovered more than 30 shell casings from the scene.
St. Louis County Police have an endangered person advisory. They say 16-year-old Joy Holt left a note, then ran away from her rural Florissant home. This was Wednesday night. Holt has a paralyzed left arm and walks with a limp.
Holt is described as 5'4", 114-pound black female with black hair, brown eyes, medium complexion, last seen wearing a gray sweatshirt and blue jeans.
Rank and file police officers in St. Louis City could be getting a 7% raise. Thanks to a proposal from the newly appointed police board, the raises are nearly double what the city proposed last fall.
They would increase officers' pay from about $58,000 to just under $62,000 a year. The police union is expected to discuss that proposal with its members later this week.
From the KMOX business desk, things are happening in the Central West End. Now, AHM Group has snapped up 10 properties. They include the home of Left Bank Books, which plans to add additional retail shops and restaurants. The local developers, Kyle Howerton, says it's about more than ownership. It's stewardship of the most beautiful, walkable, and culturally significant neighborhoods in the country. AHM's first project is redeveloping the former police station on North Newstead, and they anticipate their vision will take a few years to fully realize.
Well, it is 7:07. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to take a look at the roadways and also the weather, which includes cold temperatures and more flurries. It's 16 degrees out there right now at 7:07.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Cantor Injury Law. So as you know, I'm a lawyer, haven't practiced in a long time, but I did plaintiff's work and defense work, so I have a pretty good understanding of it. I have a pretty good idea of who's who in the firmament of plaintiffs' attorneys. And for my money, Mark Cantor is the guy. He's a great attorney. He is a great practitioner. He's put together a great team. He was born and raised here. He lives here. He works here. He wins here. Call 314-628-ALL-9s or CantorInjuryLaw.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based on advertising.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could it be lower testosterone?
Lower T.
Happens to most guys after 40. I was in the same boat until I started using Nugenix Total T2.
Total T2, the new one I've seen on TV.
Yep, it's the next generation testosterone booster for both free and total testosterone. It's packed with even more man-boosting power, sending nitric oxide levels skyrocketing in just 3 hours.
It actually works?
I feel like I'm in my 20s again. I've got more energy, better results in the gym, and things are even better in the bedroom. Send them a text and get a complimentary bottle.
Text now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the #1 testosterone brand at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, absolutely free. Text AREA to 369-369. AREA to 369-369. AREA to 369-369.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hey guys, it's Dave. You know that saying, new year, new you? Well, how about new year, new home upgrade? Right now, when you buy 4 windows from Universal Windows Direct, you get 4 free. That's one of the biggest offers they've ever done. And with 0% interest financing for 60 months, you can spread out your payments over 5 years, same as cash without a penny of interest. But there's more. You'll get $1,000 off your entire project, plus little something to look forward to, a vacation voucher through Destination Motivation with every purchase. Call 314-334-2522 or visit universalwindowsdirect.com.
This hour of Total Information AM is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts.
It is 7:10. Let's get back to Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, we still got this crash, Scott. Westbound 44 at the ramp to North 270. The left lane of the ramp is shut down. There's a lot of snow scattered into that lane. I don't know if more than one vehicle went off the highway earlier. There's one out there currently, but to have that much snow moved onto the roadway, I think that's been a problem for a while. So anyway, the right lanes are briefly backed up at that point right now on westbound 44. Once you get to North 270, North 270 is great from all the way back at 55 all the way up to Ladue for the time being at least. Southbound 61, not a jam, but it is slow in pockets approaching Highway P. Goes all the way down onto 64 through Prospect, opens up before you get to Lake St. Louis Boulevard. That's due to a recently cleared crash we had there. If you're on Tesson Ferry, we had a minor crash reported near Butler Hill. I don't see much in the way of delays there. See delays on Lemay Ferry right around Will, and we also had that crash Union at Revis Barracks. I'm still seeing brief delays at that point, but otherwise the rest of the highways on the Missouri side are okay. Downtown, westbound 64 is a little heavy on the Poplar, and of course we still have the restrictions over in Richmond Heights. Southbound Big Bend at Bruno is still shut down for an overnight crash that took down a power pole and an electric signal pole. Northbound lanes are open, but there are brief jams. Obviously, southbound's a little more jammed because it's completely closed. Northbound is just slow through the area. Taking a look at the southbound issue. Next update at 7:20 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
KMOX AccuWeather, mostly cloudy and very cold today. Look for a couple of flurries around later this afternoon and this evening, a high 26. Later tonight, partly to mostly cloudy and frigid down to 4 above. Tomorrow, bitterly cold with intervals of clouds and sun and a high of 18. Another bitterly cold day Saturday with sunshine, some clouds, and a high again 18. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It is cloudy and 16 degrees right now in downtown St. Louis.
Got some college hoops coming up in the next couple days, and we hear from Alec Burleson on the direction of the Cardinals. I'm Brian Feldman. Sports coming up in 2 minutes.
It is 7:12 as the sun rises this morning. St. Louis County Police and volunteers are already out and about. KMOX's Michael Calhoun tells us why.
They'll be conducting a census of the area's unhoused population. The Department of Human Services is launching its annual point-in-time count. It began at 5 a.m. Teams will spend 4 hours fanning out across the county to locate and document individuals living on the street. Loaves and Fishes in Maryland Heights is serving as the command center for the operation, which includes support from the crisis intervention team. Officers will accompany volunteers as a safety measure. Organizers say anybody encountered during the search who requests housing will be taken to a shelter on the spot. For those who decline, volunteers will hand out winter warming care bags.
Meanwhile, in the city of St. Louis, volunteers have been out on the streets for the past 6 days, making sure the homeless have what they need to survive the dangerous cold. Catherine Shaw of All Among Us says they're seeing fewer people because the mayor and her team have provided adequate shelter.
And that has made a huge difference this year. So while we still have the people on the street who are unable to go into shelter because of primarily mental illness or addiction, the people who are able to go into shelter all have a bed. I think right now the shelters are 90% full.
Shaw says in her 20 years working with the homeless, it's the first time there's been a bed available for everyone who needs it. As far as getting mental health help, Shaw says there's really none of that available.
A former official with a St. Louis-based nonprofit circus has admitted to embezzling more than $123,000. 63-year-old George Pace of Ladue pleaded guilty in U.S. District Court to 4 counts of wire fraud. He admitted using a credit card he obtained without the knowledge or approval of Circus Flora to pay thousands of dollars in personal expenses. That included payments to nail salons, restaurants, and for skincare treatments. Sentencing is set for May.
It's a good time to be a manufacturer of those GLP-1 drugs. A new study shows America's obesity epidemic isn't going away.
Obesity rates have doubled since 1990.
1 in 3 people have obesity in the United States.
And if they continue on this track,
almost half of Americans are going to be obese, over the next 15 years or so.
University of Washington cardiology professor Dr. Gregory Roth says the environment we live in is to blame.
Access to more calories and also potentially access to certain kinds of food that drive obesity, like high glycemic index foods.
Missouri currently has an obesity rate of 37%. In Illinois, it's 33%. Fred Bottomer, KMOX News.
Kansas City will be seeing some World Cup soccer matches this summer. St. Louis will not, but that doesn't mean we won't see some action here. St. Louis City's Dale Schilly says a few reps from delegations have been seen walking around City SC facilities downtown West.
So hopefully we'll get to host somebody, for their training and their preparation for the World Cup. But we won't be hosting games here.
Schilly was a guest on Chris and Amy. He also does city play-by-play on our sister station, Y98.
Good morning. I'm Brian Feldman filling in for Tom Ackerman. Let's start off with some college hoops. Number 9, Illinois plays host to Washington tonight in Champaign. The Illini coming off a massive 88-82 win at number 4 Purdue this week. That's now 9 wins in a row for Illinois, all since losing to Nebraska in mid-December. Freshman guard Keaton Wagler leading the way for Illinois, averaging more than 17 points per game so far this season. Other action in the coming days, 21st-ranked St. Louis University puts their unbeaten conference record on the line tomorrow against Dayton. Tip-off from Chafe at 7 o'clock. The Billikens coming off a tough 3-point win over George Washington Tuesday night. That's when they needed Robbie Avila to nail a tie-breaking 3 with just a few seconds to go. This game against Dayton should be equally as tough. The Flyers pretty good, 5-3 in the A-10, but they're losers of 3 straight games. You can catch the action, as always, right here on your home for Billikens basketball, KMOX. Then on Saturday, Mizzou hosts Mississippi State in Columbia. The Tigers 14-7 on the year so far. To hockey, the Blues face off against the Panthers tonight. Face off 7 o'clock at Enterprise Center. The Blues coming off a 4-3 loss to Dallas Tuesday, their 5th straight defeat. On to baseball, spring training just a few weeks away, and Cardinals players excited about what's to come, despite the moves to get younger and provide opportunities for less experienced players. KMOX talked to Alec Burleson at the winter warm-up about the direction of the team, something Burleson says is a good thing for the future.
They're allowing the young guys to kind of showcase what they got for real this time. And we're young, but we have experience, right? Like a lot of these guys have a year or 2 in the big league, so they know what it's like. They know what to expect. So just going to continue to build towards that. And just, super excited to get started with him.
Burleson will take over at first base after the departure of Wilson Contreras. The 27-year-old hit .290 last year with a career-high .801 OPS. He's expected to anchor the lineup once again this season. To the NBA, tears were a-flowing on the face of LeBron James last night when the Lakers visited Cleveland for what could be James's last game in his first NBA city. LeBron was drafted 1st overall by the Cavaliers back in 2003. The Cavs played a video tribute to LeBron in the first quarter of what ended up being a 129-99 Cavs win. After the game, James told reporters, "This could be my last season. I obviously haven't made a decision, but it very well could be." Other NBA news, St. Louis native Jason Tatum has not made up his mind on whether or not he'll return this year from a torn Achilles tendon. The Celtics All-Star tells ESPN he wants to get it right and there's a lot to think about. Tatum injured himself during the playoffs last May. With reports at 15 and 45 past the hour, I'm Brian Feldman on your home for St. Louis Cardinals baseball, KMOX.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Attention business owners with a net income over $500,000. You need to work with a tax strategist that understands your entrepreneurial mindset. Download the most recent white paper written by E3 Consultants Group titled The Power of a Professional Tax Strategy Team. Go to e3wealth.com/radio to obtain a copy. It's time to learn about wealth and tax strategies that protect your personal and business economy. E3 is ready to help you think differently about your finances. Educate, empower, enlighten. That's the E3 difference.
Soulard is going to the dogs. Make sure to bring your four-legged friend to the streets of Soulard for the 33rd annual Purina Pet Parade, the world's largest costume pet parade. It all starts at 12th and Allen, Sunday, February 8th at 1 p.m. And KMOX's own Dave Glover will be leading the pack as the parade's Grand Marshal. Sign up today to march in the parade with your dog. The event supports Open Door Animal Sanctuary. For more details, PurinaPetParade.com. Don't miss this annual St. Louis Mardi Gras tradition. Sponsored by Purina.
Total Information AM. The news continues on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It is 7:20. Let's update the roads with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Scott, they temporarily have the ramp closed now. The ramp from westbound 44 onto northbound 270. That's where we had this spin-off crash or whatever it was. The car got stuck in the snow. That left lane is completely snow-covered to the ramp. But anyway, the flatbed tow truck's there to get it out of the ditch, so they have the ramp temporarily shut down. So those right lanes backed up a little more solidly just west of Lindbergh. North 270 in the area. From 55 up to Gravois slow, and then after that, you're in the clear. South 270 starting to bog down south of Olive down to 64. Southbound 61, Highway P down on the 64 through Prospect. That earlier minor crash is still out there on the right shoulder, but it's no longer blocking anything. Westbound 64, Clayton Skinker through Bellevue is a little busy. Eastbound Highway 70, T.R. Hughes around Zumbel and around 5th Street. There are a couple of slowdowns there. Northbound 55, the right lane's north of Butler Hill. All lanes from Bayless up to River to Bear. Downtown, westbound 64 just a little busy past the 70 split, just briefly. Then it's a good run across the Poplar. Next update at 7:30 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Weather-wise, you'll still need all of your warm clothing and your boots because today, cloudy, maybe a flurry or two late with a high of 23 and more flurries possible this evening with an overnight low of 4. And then for Friday and Saturday, it doesn't get much better, although we might see a few peaks of sunshine. That's the good news. 18 degrees is the high for Saturday and Friday and Saturday. Right now, it's 16 degrees downtown.
The news continues at 7:22. With his term ending soon, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell isn't looking to make any drastic moves. The central bank decided to leave interest rates unchanged this week. Stifel Director of Investments Eric Roberts says Powell seems focused on a smooth transition.
It doesn't look like the Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, is planning to rock any boats on his way out the door as Fed Chair, at least.
Wall Street is now turning its attention to the White House to see who President Trump will appoint to lead the Fed next.
Could the local housing market rebound in 2026?
A lot depends on whether sellers are willing to let go of their low mortgage rates and list their homes. Mark Gelman, real estate advisor with the Gelman team, points out the last half of 2025, there were markets where homes were available but didn't sell.
Homes weren't prepared for sale. They weren't priced properly. They weren't marketed at the highest level. They thought they were going to get what that their neighbor got 6-8 months ago.
Gelman says 2026 could be a repeat.
I believe we're going to see a lot of the same, which is a weakness in inventory of great homes priced right. There may be a little bit of increase in inventory, but I don't see those coming off the market because many of them are priced wrong.
He says if you're thinking about selling, you have to weigh whether it makes sense to move up to a bigger mortgage interest rate. Megan Lynch, KMOX News.
If you're getting an early start on filing your taxes, the Federal Trade Commission says watch out for scams. One scam is when robo emails or texts give you the subject line tax refund. They claim to come from the IRS or the state tax office.
You're told your refund has been processed, but you must verify personal information by clicking a link. Lisa Green-Lewis is a CPA and tax expert with TurboTax.
There have been scams where they tell you you owe a certain amount of money and you need to send it to a certain place. And, the IRS, they don't operate like that. And they'll send you some correspondence just asking you to verify things, but they wouldn't do something as urgent like that over the phone or email.
Green-Lewis says if you're unsure whether you're being scammed, you can always call the IRS directly and ask. Green-Lewis says beware of fake websites that claim to help you file your taxes. Legit websites will always have the HTTPS in the URL, a real phone number, and multi-factor authentication when you log in.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says he understands the concerns of Chicago's mayor and others over the city's potential to host the Democratic National Convention in 2028.
The governor tried to downplay the Chicago Host Committee's submission of a bid to host the next two DNCs.
What we've only done is submit Chicago as a possible location for a 2028 or 2032 convention.
But Pritzker says he hears the feedback from leaders, including Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who told us he has concerns about handing over security of the city to an administration in Washington that's repeatedly attacked Chicago and Illinois.
I get it. And I that is something that anybody should call out as something we ought to focus on before we would fully commit.
And he said the city has shown the Democratic National Committee that it's a capable host.
The 2024 convention went off splendidly in a very tough set of circumstances.
And on that, the governor and the mayor agree. We're with the governor in the loop. Jeff Buckles, News Radio 1059, WBBM.
Former Central Illinois Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson set to be sentenced today for the second-degree murder of Sonia Massey. In a 2024 shooting in her apartment, Grayson faces up to 20 years in prison after a jury convicted him last fall but cleared him of first-degree murder. Karen Hua has more from Springfield.
Back in 2024, Sonia Massey was a 36-year-old Black mother of two, and Sean Grayson was a sheriff's deputy in Springfield, Illinois at the time. So Grayson responded to Massey's house for a call about a potential prowler. And there ultimately was confusion over what exactly provoked the shooting. But a lot of it stemmed from Massey, who was holding a pot of boiling water in her hand that Grayson interpreted as a threat. Grayson ultimately then shot Massey in the face.
A Scouting America leader in St. Clair County is jailed on 15 counts of child sexual abuse material possession. The Illinois Attorney General's office says a search of 25-year-old Caleb Raker's Millstadt home turned up the evidence. Prosecutors say he's affiliated with Troop 8622 in Millstadt. The case is being handled by the Attorney General's Internet Crimes Division Children's Task Force.
It is now 7:27, and the time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
All right, I don't know about you, but I need a vacation. I need something to look forward to. So we have got a great trip planned for later this year, but you've got to get in on the action now before spaces fill up. This is going to be a 5-day Arizona adventure. So join me and KMOX listeners. We're going to be based in Flagstaff, beautiful scenic Flagstaff, where I understand it's going to be less crowded in September and the temperatures will be great. And we are going to travel to the stunning Red Rocks of Sedona. We're going to take that beautiful train to the Grand Canyon and a cruise along the clear blue waters of Lake Powell. It's going to be incredible scenery, incredible memories. I've never been to the Grand Canyon, so I'm super excited about this. And compared to Missouri, it'll be like being on another planet. So join us. Even if you've gone before to Arizona, this is going to be an incredible time. 5 days, an unforgettable trip. Go to travelwithdebbie.net to book your Arizona escape. Travelwithdebbie.net, or you can call 800-383-3131. We're traveling to the Grand Canyon, Lake Powell, and Sedona this September. Travelwithdebbie.net.
SSM Health welcomes the St. Louis Golf Expo, January 30th through February 1st at St. Charles Convention Center. Get bonus golf balls and Pro Tour tickets while they last. Presented by Post Dispatch. Shop with Pro-Am Golf. Play Sinclair Lincoln's Long Putt powered by Evolve Putters. The Back 9 Crestwood Simulator. The Battlehawks Chip Shot. And sip drinks by Skimmers, Tito's, and Four Hands Cannabis at the Golf Expo, January 30th through February 1st in St. Charles. Thanks to Gateway Golf Cars, Booth Creek Wagyu, and Amateur Players Tour. Special tickets at stlgolfexpo.com.
Hey, this is Charlie Brennan, along with Dr. Colleen Bosler and Dr. Adam Voss at the Audiology Center. When was the last time you really enjoyed a conversation without straining to hear?
Charlie, so many people think hearing aids just make things louder.
But that's old technology. Today's hearing aids do so much more.
Exactly. With the dual chip technology, our hearing aids actually separate the speech from the background noise.
Which means at a noisy restaurant, you'll hear your friends and family, not the clinking dishes.
And the best part, your brain doesn't have to work overtime trying to fill in the blanks.
So that keeps your mind sharp, your conversations easy, and your relationships stronger.
Because hearing well isn't just about sound, it's about staying connected.
Thanks, Doctor. Call the Audiology Center today to schedule your annual hearing evaluation. Don't miss another moment. Call 636-441-7470 or visit the Audiology Center STL.com.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
At 7:30, we have a chilly morning. It's going to be cloudy today. There's a little bit of sun. Right now, it's 16 degrees.
That is Scott Jagow. I'm Debbie Monterrey, and here is Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
We're back to just having the left lane blocked on the ramp from westbound 44 getting onto 270. So right lane's back open. They have both lanes blocked temporarily, but they've yet to clear the crash. So just brief delays, backups there on westbound 44. Just pay attention as you head that way. If you're on northbound 270, it's getting a little busier north of 55 in pockets up to Gravois, and then Doherty Ferry all the way to Ladue. South 270 Olive to Ladue, that's starting to slow down as well. Eastbound 70, at least the right lane's backed up. Z to 64, east of K through TR Hughes, and 94 through 5th Street. Those are all slow. Southbound 61 from Highway P all the way down into 64 to almost Lake St. Louis Boulevard. It bunches up in pockets. 64 from Chesterfield Parkway West to about Timberlake, and then a brief delay at the Interbelt. Westbound 64 Hampton out to Big Bend is busy. Big Bend southbound still have restrictions at Bruno from that earlier incident. They look like they're getting things wrapped up, but still a little bit of a delay through there. So just pay attention. But it looks like traffic may be getting through now. Northbound 55 backed up Bayless up to River to Pear. Westbound 64 approaching the 70 split to 3rd Street, and then it's just a little busy on the Poplar after that. Next update at 7:40 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
It's going to be cold today, and we could see some flurries later today into tonight. Today's high 23, overnight low 4, and then the high temperature for Friday and Saturday is 18 degrees both days. Right now, it's 16 downtown.
A funeral in Ferguson for an 18-year-old became a crime scene. It left 6 people injured, 3 of them with gunshot wounds. While police have taken several people of interest into custody, they also expect all the victims to survive. Ferguson Chief Troy Doyle expressed deep frustration that gun violence has become such a daily routine.
It's unfortunate, just not even at a funeral, just every day in our society that, individuals are subjected to gunshots. I mean, it's just, I don't know what else to say about that.
Doyle says at this funeral, shots were fired both inside and outside the building.
A man pleads guilty to first-degree murder over a deadly shooting at a Metro East party in the summer of 2023.
The Madison County State's Attorney's Office says 22-year-old Austin Mullins of Alton accepted a deal for his prison sentence to be capped at 40 years. Mullins shot and killed Jacob Wall at a Wood River gathering 2.5 years ago. Sentencing to be held at a later date. Brad Choate, KMOX News.
KMOX sought a legal opinion on this question. Can you carry a gun to a protest?
Speaking on Total Information AM, KMOX legal analyst Brad Young says the most recent example where that question was decided is the case of Kyle Rittenhouse.
And it was found that he could lawfully bring a weapon to a protest as long as he didn't use that weapon in an unconstitutional or illegal manner.
Rittenhouse was acquitted of murder charges after attorneys argued he fired his gun in self-defense after two men tried to grab it. Young says there have been other cases establishing that it is legal to bring a weapon to a protest, but he adds it's unlawful to brandish or demonstrate intent to use a gun. Megan Lynch, KMOX News.
Missouri's annual State of the Judiciary address was abruptly canceled Wednesday after Senate Republicans refused to show up. The boycott is a protest against state Supreme Court rulings, including a decision last week that threw out a GOP-backed ballot summary law. State Senator Rick Bratton claims the judges are the ones out of line.
We have a judiciary that has unchecked power. They feel that they rule and they reign. We are the elected representatives. We are your voice in government.
5 of the 7 Supreme Court justices were appointed by Republican governors.
The news is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. The Fed stood pat. We're going to get your money report coming up next. It is 7:34.
Okay, I don't want to be mean, but if you're a guy and you just have a grimy, multiple times refilled bottle of Dial that's got the crusty soap on the outside, that's a red flag.
What if you just have a bar of Dial soap with no soap dish?
I never like the bar of soap.
What if you have one bar of soap and you take it from the shower to the sink, back to the shower? But would you feel good about going to that guy's house?
Oh my gosh, I think I would just leave without saying anything.
Chris Ranji, Amy Mark Scores, weekdays at 9 on KMOX.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement, and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hardworking partners. So they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
Breakfast burritos for the morning brainstorm. Easy Cater. Paninis for the lunch and learn. Easy Cater. Barbecue for the clients from Boston. Easy Cater. Brownie boxes and mini bundt cakes for Brenda's workiversary. Easy Cater. One simple platform to feed any size group with food they love from favorite restaurants, plus tools to help you meet dietary needs and stay on budget. Easy Cater. All the food for your workplace, all in one place. Start an order at easycater.com.
It is now 7:36. You're listening to Total Information AM, and it's time for your money report from Bloomberg. It's sponsored by Busey Bank.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Jersey Mike's is looking to become a publicly traded company. Sources tell us the sandwich chain is working with a number of banks on an initial public offering. The company, with more than 3,000 locations, is planning on doing this as soon as the third quarter. Asset manager Blackstone acquired Jersey Mike's early last year for about $8 billion. Turning to trading, big tech is back in focus. Investors rewarding Facebook parent Meta's heavy spending on artificial intelligence, paired with a stronger than expected revenue outlook. That's giving a lift to stock index futures this morning. However, shares of rare earth companies are falling sharply in early trading. According to a report from Reuters, the Trump administration is said to be backing away from plans to guarantee a minimum price for critical minerals projects. Rare earths are critical minerals used in products ranging from smartphones and electric vehicles to fighter jets. Courtney Donahoe, Bloomberg Radio.
This is the Let's Revitalize Our Neighborhoods commitment. This is the Roll Up Our Sleeves and Pitch In commitment. This is Busey, where our commitment to strengthen our communities is a top priority. Through energetic, engaged volunteers, through monetary support, community leadership, and advocacy. Because Busey is more than a bank that does well, we're a bank that does good. Busey Bank. building business, growing wealth since 1868. Member FDIC.
When it comes to lighting, Graybar goes beyond parts and products. We help contractors turn plans into smart designs, manage kitting and deliverables, and navigate local codes so you can stay on time and on budget. Smart, scalable, job site ready. That's not just lighting. That's like kicking your project into Graybar mode. Yep, Graybar does that.
The best car dealership in St. Louis is Genesis of St. Charles, located at 5601 Veterans Memorial Parkway. That's right off Mid-Rivers Mall Drive and I-70, Genesis of St. Charles. They're located in St. Charles County. They cover this entire area as the #1 Genesis dealer in the state of Missouri. The first standalone Genesis dealership in the state of Missouri and the best. Genesis of St. Charles is a fantastic dealership. You'll enjoy the people there. You'll enjoy the facility. And, of course, you'll enjoy those beautiful Genesis vehicles. They are high-end, luxurious vehicles at a great value. Unlock that e-price at genesisofstcharles.com. And also make sure that you reach out to their GM, Shay, when you get there and tell them that Tom Ackerman sent you. They're going to take great care of you at Genesis of St. Charles. A high-end vehicle means high-end service. No question about it. That's what they do at Genesis of St. Charles. Test drive one today, genesisofstcharles.com. This is the Gas House Gang from KMOX.
Bernie Nicholas and the Gas House Gang, today at noon on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
Well, it could be days before the electricity is restored across the South following the worst winter storm there in more than 30 years.
Sadly, we can confirm 10 fatalities with this event.
That's Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves talking about the state's worst winter storm in more than 30 years. And Reeves says nearly 100,000 people are still without power.
There are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of linemen, both from in-state and out-of-state, that are out working.
Some 60 warming centers are open across the state, but in Batesville, Mayor Hal Farrell says warming centers don't exist and the roads are still slippery with ice. At the Mississippi state line in Hardin County, Tennessee, the county's emergency management director says people are prepared to manage a couple of days without power, but they can't go on much longer than that. There are more than 96,000 homes and businesses without power in Nashville, Tennessee. Forecasters say sub-freezing temperatures will continue in the eastern U.S. into February, and a new influx of Arctic air will arrive this weekend. I'm Donna Warder.
Your forecast is just ahead. Right now, let's check on the roads with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, we still got this crash, Scott, on the ramp from westbound 44 to 270. Left lane of the ramp is blocked. Just a little bit of a delay there. Northbound 270. North of 55 through Gravois, north of 44 all the way up to Ladue is busy. Southbound 270 from 364 down to Ladue is slow. Eastbound 70 coming in from Wentzville Parkway to 64, approaching Highway K east of Bryan Road, I guess we'll call it, into 79, and then Zumbel into the Blanchette Bridge. A lot of slow traffic in spots. Southbound 61 Highway P down onto 64 through Prospect, 94 through or K through 94. Looks like there may be an issue there. It's still going from Boone's Crossing to Timberlake and McKnight into Big Bend. Westbound 64 from the Science Center out to Hanley. South 170 delays at the Parkway. If you're on northbound 55, Bayless up to Holly Hills. Westbound 64 from the 70 split to the Poplar. They're slow going. Next update at 7:50 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
All right, it is almost 7:42. Let's check in with Joe Lundberg, our AccuWeather meteorologist. When you say flurries, we're not talking about any accumulation, right?
No, I don't think so. The only chance of that happening, I think, would be later Sunday afternoon and evening. And even that looks to be like no more than a 20% chance of happening in terms of something that would stick and cause some problems. But today, I think it's just going to be a couple of snow flurries and visibility still be 8, 9, 10 miles. Unfortunately, it is going to be cold with limited sun or high 26. And if you think it's cold this morning, wait till tomorrow morning. Skies begin to clear late tonight, and that allows temperature to drop down into the single digits. Frigid tomorrow and Saturday. Despite some sun both days, only 18 for highs. Sunday does get cloudy, and I mentioned that chance for some very light snow or flurries in the afternoon, the high 30. Still cold on Monday with clouds and some sun, the high up to 33. Holding steady at 19 in St. Peter's. It's 19 in Florissant, mostly cloudy, and 23 downtown at the Arch.
From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on 104.1 FM KMOX.
We're going to get a master class in ROI from J.J. Weatherholt. The Cardinals' top pick from 2024 is a finance guy, and he takes us through the economics about what the Cardinals are doing and why it's important. I'm Brian Feldman, sports in 2 minutes.
It is 7:43. Amid calls for a legislative compromise to end the standoff in Minnesota, Senator Schmidt of Missouri signaled the time for deal-making is over. Addressing the Senate, Eric Schmidt rejected the idea of a new comprehensive immigration reform package. He insists the executive branch already has all the tools it needs.
The era of fake deals is over. There will be no fake, quote-unquote, comprehensive immigration reform because a nation does not need new laws to enforce the ones it already has. President Trump demonstrated a basic truth of self-government. Law without enforcement is not law at all.
Schmidt argues the peaceful execution of deportation orders in other states proves the violence in Minnesota is an outlier, not a necessary result of the federal enforcement.
Meanwhile, one of Schmidt's counterparts in the Senate is seeking a different job. Democrat Amy Klobuchar announcing she is running to be the next governor of Minnesota.
Minnesota, we've been through a lot.
The four-term senator made her announcement on social media, vowing to take on the Trump administration.
These times call for leaders who can stand up and not be rubber stamps of this administration, but who are also willing to find common ground and fix things in our state.
Current Governor Tim Walz dropped his bid for a third term earlier this month. Klobuchar gives Democrats a high-profile candidate as they try to keep the office in their hands. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
In Atlanta, FBI agents with a search warrant searched a county election facility Wednesday looking for ballots and other records from 2020. This is tied to President Trump's claim that he actually won Georgia. Skylar Henry has more from Union City.
FBI agents moved in and out of the Fulton County elections up Wednesday, executing a court-authorized search warrant. A FBI spokesperson did not provide any details about the search. The warrant cites possible violations of federal laws protecting election records and against procuring fraudulent votes.
President Trump and First Lady Melania will attend the premiere tonight for the documentary Melania.
Here we go again. The film chronicles the First Lady in the runoff to President Trump's second inauguration. It includes Melania Trump's involvement in planning the inauguration events, as well as the transition to her husband's second term. Everyone wants to know. So here it is. The movie, which is being released in theaters, will be screened at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, which President Trump renamed the Trump Kennedy Center. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
Good morning, I'm Brian Feldman filling in for Tom Ackerman. Spring training not far off as the Cardinals look to surprise teams in 2026. They dealt away some big names, if you haven't heard. Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, Nolan Arenado, maybe Brendan Donovan at some point. Who knows? It's all part of a youth movement, putting the youngest and best up-and-coming talent on the field to bring the next great Cardinals team right here to St. Louis. And no one exemplifies that movement more than top prospect J.J. Weatherholt. The Cardinals' top pick from 2024, commonly viewed as a top player in the entire minor leagues. And he could make his big league debut early this season. Weatherholt says he feels strongly about the direction this Cardinals franchise is headed.
The easiest way to put it is, for me, it's like return on investment. You know, I'm a finance guy. So sometimes you got to take risks, and you might want to throw more money in this stock because you think it'll have a higher return. And it's the same concept in baseball. These teams that have these great minor league systems and are even producing at the big league level, they're pouring a massive amount of money on their guys. They're taking a risk, spending a ton of money on them, if that's from the development side, if it's food, if it's nutrition, if whatever it is, that's what they're doing. And the hope is that later down the road, they're going to win more games and in turn make the club more money. So that's kind of the risk that you've got to take. And it seems like, the new front office is willing to do so.
Weatherholt will absolutely get his chance to make the club out of spring training, which starts in just a few weeks. College hoops, number 9 Illinois plays host to Washington tonight in Champaign. The Illini coming off a big win at Purdue. That's 9 wins in a row for Illinois. Tomorrow, 21st ranked SLU faces Dayton. They are coming off a big win over George Washington. Tip off from Chaffetz Arena, 7 o'clock. Then on Saturday, Mizzou hosts Mississippi State in Columbia. To the NBA, tears were flowing on the face of LeBron James last night. LeBron could be done for his career at the end of the season. We're not sure. He was in Cleveland, his first NBA city, playing for the Lakers. They played a video tribute, and he was crying throughout. Other NBA news, St. Louis native Jason Tatum has not made up his mind on whether or not he'll return this year from an Achilles tendon injury. The Celtics All-Star tells ESPN he wants to get it right first, and there's a lot to think about. And in hockey, the Blues face off against the Panthers tonight. Face off 7 o'clock at Enterprise Center. The Blues coming off a 4-3 loss to Dallas Tuesday, their 5th straight defeat. With reports at 15 and 45 past the hour, I'm Brian Feldman on your home for St. Louis Cardinals baseball. KMOX.
Last year, we had 295 trials where we've been offered a total of $90 million on all those cases. When the dust settled, we recovered over $1.1 billion in verdicts and mid-trial settlements. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason. We won a lot, $30 billion and counting. The best part of all those wins is that it helps you when you hire us. All those wins allow us to let the insurance company know we mean business. And believe me, they know who we are. If you've been injured, Google Morgan & Morgan results. You're not bragging if it's a fact. 3 million people tried to hire us last year alone. That happened for a reason. Visit forthepeople.com and let's get started this minute. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Being first in line can be very important to homeowners. First in line for the plumber, first in line for the HVAC guy, first at Banner Construction. It's Banner Construction's winter home event, and you can be the first in line this spring and save before the annual price increases. Banner Construction is a James Hardy and Pella replacement windows specialist, and now is the best time to schedule a free in-home consultation with no obligation. Call 314-569-1050 or check them out on the web at bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
Big game, big screen, big energy at Ballpark Village, Sunday, February 8th. Enjoy the big game like you're in the end zone, featuring in-arena touchdown celebrations, fan cams, contest VIP packages, and more, hosted by RDJ and DJ Dex. Save up to $10 on tickets with code KMOX. Tickets and event details at stlballparkvillage.com/events. For more information, KMOX.com/events.
Total Information AM on 104.1 FM. KMOX.
Good morning. It's 7:50. Roger Brand is watching the roads for us from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Scott, they finally cleared the crash on the ramp from westbound 44 to 270. That left lane is still very snowy, so be careful through there. We don't want another car off the roadway in a ditch, but the lanes are open. Northbound 270, approaching Tesson Ferry all the way to Ladou's busy. South 270 approaching 364 down to 64 is pretty heavy. Eastbound 70, still some slow stuff. Lake St. Louis through Bryan Road, East to K through TR Hughes. From Cave Springs into 94, there's a report of a minor crash at 94. Southbound 61, midway down from P to Wentzville Parkway onto 64 to Lake St. Louis Boulevard is slow. From about Annie Guns to almost Timberlake, you're heavy, and then slow stuff from Lindbergh through the Interbelt. Westbound 64 Hampton to Hanley, typical delays. Lindbergh out to Ballas is slow. South 170, a couple of spots where it's off the pace from Delmar down to 64. Northbound 55 from Bayless up to Holly Hills, heavy. Westbound 64 west of the 70 split to the Poplar. There are several slowdowns there. And they have reopened a Big Bend at Bruno. Southbound, I believe the right lane is still blocked, but traffic is getting through. Next update is 7:58 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
It is going to just be cold, and we're going to see some more flurries. Nothing in the way of accumulation, though. So expect it to get up to about 23 today with cloudy skies, a flurry or two late, and then maybe a flurry this evening. Overnight low of 4 degrees. Friday and Saturday, staying cold with clouds and some sunshine, but a high both days, 18. We're at 16 degrees right now.
The news continues at 7:52. Stores that sell marijuana in Missouri are licensed by the state, and a coalition of those companies is suing more than 24 smoke shops in St. Louis County, accusing them of unfair competition. The lawsuit, says the Post-Dispatch, claims the smoke shops are selling pot products disguised as industrial hemp.
The Missouri legislature tried but failed to crack down on the unregulated sale of these products. And St. Louis County Councilwoman Lisa Clancy also tried to address the issue but got pushback from businesses.
The historic reach of the Alien Enemies Act goes under the microscope on Capitol Hill. Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth challenged the administration's decision to apply that 18th century law to modern street gangs during a hearing with Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Are we currently at war with Venezuela?
No, we're not in a state of war in Venezuela.
Okay, the Supreme Court has described the Alien Enemies Act as a wartime power, our Supreme Court. And before now, the Alien Enemies Act was only invoked during the War of 1812, World War I, World War II, when it was used to intern thousands of innocent civilians.
Rubio pushed back, asserting the definition of an invasion has evolved. He argues foreign criminal networks operating on U.S. soil justify the use of wartime powers.
Tesla is ending the production of its Model S and X vehicles. The electric automaker's CEO Elon Musk announcing Wednesday they will use the factory to produce their Optimus humanoid robots.
We're going to take the Model S and X production space in our Fremont factory and convert that into an Optimus factory, which will, with the long-term goal of having 1 million units a year of Optimus robots.
In its earnings announcement Wednesday, Tesla reported its first annual revenue decline on record, with sales falling in 3 of the past 4 quarters.
There's word today of an upgraded trade agreement between the EU and Vietnam.
Vietnam has upgraded its relationship with the European Union as European Council President Antonio Costa visits its capital, Hanoi. European Council President Antonio Costa was given a warm and illustrious welcome by Vietnam as he met with Vietnam's president in the country's capital. The result of the meeting, a comprehensive strategic partnership, Vietnam's highest diplomatic level. This change places the EU on the same diplomatic footing as the US, China, and Russia. European Council President Antonio Costa emphasized the importance of the agreement.
At a moment when international rules-based order is under threat from multiple sides, we need to start to stand side by side as reliable and predictable partners.
Vietnam's President Luong Quang called the move a historic milestone. This partnership comes as both regions recalibrate trade amid global financial disruptions driven by US tariff pressure. I'm Karen Shemas.
You may be wondering how you can boost your credit score.
The higher your score, the more likely it is you'll be approved for a mortgage loan, a car loan, credit cards, and personal loans, and get the most competitive rates. So how can you boost your score? Since 35% of a credit score consists of payment history, make sure you consistently pay your bills on time. A single payment 30 days or more late can knock 50 or more points off your score. The second most important factor in a credit score is amounts owed or credit utilization. The higher your balance compared to your credit limit, the lower your score. Christopher Cruz, CBS News.
Some German scientists, let me say that again. Some German scientists wanted to see what would
We're
happen.
just giggling over this story.
If they fed a bunch of people oatmeal 3 times a day. Nothing fancy, just oats boiled in water. That's it. After 2 days, not only was everyone begging for something with flavor, their bad cholesterol levels went way down. On average, 10% in 48 hours. And they lost about 5 pounds on average. They had to keep up with the bland diet to maintain those results, however.
I like oatmeal, but 3 times a day.
No.
And just plain.
No, that's like eating gruel.
But that is an amazing result for sure.
Unexpected.
It is 7:56.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear they have missed out on the selling market. They are so relieved to learn September, October, and November are strong selling months. With low inventory and hopefully lower interest rates, this fall will be a hot one for real estate. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. You may have heard me say, why pay more than 4 for years? Now it's why pay more than 2, saving you even more money. Call me 314-441-4444. And remember, why pay more than 2?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Nevada.
St. Louis has a voice.
MOX, the voice of St. Louis.
That voice has shared our stories from headline to history.
From moment to memory,
President George Bush is on his way to St. Louis right now.
among those voices, Ron Jagow.
Welcome back to the Voice of the Cardinals, KMOX.
Working at KMOX is an honor and a responsibility to represent this community. It's one we take seriously. KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
Refresh your bathroom with big savings at Lowe's. Reimagine your bathroom with up to 40% off select faucets during our Bath Savings event. Need it today? Order by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Shop for your bathroom refresh at Lowe's. We help, you save. While supplies last, selection varies by location. Same-day delivery on eligible in-stock items, subject to availability. Fees vary. Visit Lowes.com/same-day delivery for full terms.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Glover here for my friends at Cantor Injury Law. Cantor is local, and we're here doing the work every day. We're right here in St. Louis, and we're ready to fight for you. CantorInjuryLaw.com or call 314-628-9999.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
Join Mark Patrick Hypnosis. Lose the weight or stop smoking. Guaranteed only $59.99. Saturday, March 7th at the Comfort Inn Westport Event Center in St. Louis. Weight loss hypnosis starts at 11 a.m. Registration at 10:30 a.m. Stop smoking starts at 2 p.m. Registration 1:30 p.m.
Just before 8 o'clock, Roger Brand with an update on the roads from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, Scott, yeah, eastbound 70 drivers are a little busy right past K to TR Hughes, and it's bogged down east of Cave Springs up to 94. We had a minor crash there. Eastbound 64 coming off 61 to Lake St. Louis Boulevard is slow. There's a little slowdown coming out of the valley. It's heavy east of Lindbergh through the Interbelt. Westbound 64, Clayton Skinker headed out through Hanley's busy. Northbound 270, approaching Gravois pretty much all the way up to Ladue, slow. South 270, Olive down to 64 is busy. South 170 from Page down to 64 is slow as well. Next update at 8:10 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
The trusted voice of St. Louis. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Pfizer.
I'm Christopher Cruz. President Trump's border czar Tom Homan says his main focus is going to be drawing down the number of federal agents in Minnesota. He told reporters in Minneapolis he's in the state for the long haul.
I'm staying till the problem's gone. But we've made a lot of progress.
But Homan said he won't allow protesters to stop ICE officers from making arrests.
There'll be zero tolerance. You interfere, impede, assault ICE officers, you will be arrested.
Homan said he's had discussions with a number of elected officials since his arrival, and all agreed that the safety of the community is paramount. Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar is running for governor of Minnesota.
Minnesota, we've been through a lot.
The four-term senator made her announcement on social media, vowing to take on the Trump administration.
These times call for leaders who can stand up and not be rubber stamps of this administration, but who are also willing to find common ground and fix things in our state.
Current Governor Tim Walz dropped his bid for a third term earlier this month. Klobuchar gives Democrats a high-profile candidate as they try to keep the office in their hands. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Despite their differences, Republicans and Democrats may be close to an agreement to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Here's CBS's Caitlin Huey-Burns.
Both sides are inching towards a potential deal to essentially take out DHS funding separately from all the other funding bills that they have to pass in order to avert a partial government shutdown and pass a short-term measure for the Department of Homeland Security.
The former Deputy Sheriff Sean Grayson will be sentenced today on second-degree murder charges. He shot and killed Sonia Massey in 2024. CBS's Karen Hua reports from Springfield, Illinois.
We know that supporters of the Massey family will be rallying outside the courthouse before the sentencing, and also several family members on both sides could read impact statements in court. There's even a chance Grayson himself could speak, since he also testified at his own trial.
Grayson could get up to 20 years in prison. Tesla CEO Elon Musk says the company will stop making two popular popular car models. He said the factory in California will be converted to making the company's Optimus humanoid robots.
We're going to take the Model S and X production space in our Fremont factory and convert that into an Optimus factory, which will, with the long-term goal of having 1 million units a year of Optimus robots.
The Labor Department says applications for unemployment benefits fell modestly to 209,000 last week. Less than half an hour before the open, futures are up fractionally. This is CBS News.
You still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored.
At 8:03, we have sunny skies, 18 degrees downtown at the Arch. Today is Thursday, January 29th. I'm Megan Lynch. Today is the annual count census of St. Louis County's unhoused population. Here's KMOX's Michael Calhoun.
St. Louis County officials say the head count is critical for securing the money needed to fight homelessness. The point-in-time count is a requirement from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. County officials say the data gathered during the 4-hour sweep is essential for assessing current programs and winning future grants for housing services. Teams will be canvassing the county. They started at 5 and they'll finish by 9 a.m. and they are offering immediate shelter to anybody who wants it.
Michael reports those who say they'd rather stay on the street will get bags filled with coats, gloves, hats, and hygiene products. St. Louis County Police have an endangered person advisory for us to announce. They say 16-year-old Joy Holt left a note, then ran away from her rural Florissant home Wednesday night. Holt has a paralyzed left arm and walks with a limp. She's 5'4", 114-pound black female with black hair, brown eyes, and medium complexion. She was last seen wearing a gray sweatshirt and blue jeans. Contact police if you've seen Joy Holt. Ferguson police have arrested multiple people after a shooting at a funeral home that left 3 people shot and 3 others injured. Chief Troy Doyle says all victims have non-life-threatening injuries.
You're asking questions that's very preliminary. We're still counting those things. We're still interviewing witnesses. Again, we're still trying to interview individuals that we have in custody. So everything right now is very preliminary.
It happened Wednesday during a service for a teenager. For more than a month, the suspect wanted for killing a mother and her 9-year-old daughter in their Walnut Park home evaded police. But Tuesday, 40-year-old Michael Antonio McNair Jr. was arrested by U.S. Marshals in Poplar Bluff. The U.S. Marshal Service's James Tapp.
Task force officers and deputy U.S. Marshals. And ultimately, the task force, the city task force, developed information that McNair was living in the 3400 block of Highway B in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. McNair was previously bouncing around many addresses down there, many vacants, and after multiple arrest attempts throughout January, he was taken into custody.
McNair is charged with 2 counts of murder, first degree arson, and unlawful use of a weapon. 45-year-old Latasha Brown and her daughter, Paige Buckner, were found in their burning home. The autopsy revealed they'd been shot. Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore says they will leave no stone unturned in prosecuting the crime. Rank-and-file police officers in St. Louis City could be getting a 7% raise thanks to a proposal from the newly appointed police board. The rates are nearly double what the city proposed last fall. They would increase officers' pay from about $58,000 to just under $62,000. The police union expected to discuss the proposal with its members later this week. The Missouri House Commerce Committee heard a set of bills yesterday that would put income tax on the ballot. Speaker John Patterson's bill proposes a constitutional amendment that would allow the legislature to stop taxing wages. If passed, the measure would go on the ballot in November. Supporters say it would give Missourians more autonomy over their money, but Minority Floor Leader Ashley Ani questions how the legislature would implement the new structure.
Well, I can't imagine what our tax structure looks like when we slash income tax, slash property taxes, and can't pay for anything anymore. But that's a conversation for apparently a future legislature that we trust more than we trust ourselves.
If approved, the legislature would have 3 years to remove the income tax, which brings in more than $9 billion a year for the state. Obesity rates among U.S. adults have doubled since 1990.
And if they continue on this track, University of Washington cardiology professor Dr. Gregory Roth says
almost half of the U.S. population will be living with obesity by the year 2035 if we forecast our data into the future. 47% of the entire U.S. population suffering from the health effects of obesity.
Missouri currently has an obesity rate of 37%. In Illinois, it's 33%. Dr. Roth says the environment we live in is to blame, meaning access to more calories and more high glycemic foods that drive up obesity. Fred Bottomer, KMOX News.
From the business desk, the 2026 real estate market could look very similar to last year. Mark Gelman, real estate advisor with the Gelman team, says sellers have to decide whether it makes sense to trade up to a bigger mortgage interest rate.
They have an interest rate at 2.5%, 3% wants to move. Hold on to your home. Hold on to that home and rent it. And here's the reason: you will not see that anytime soon. The spread that you can get in the increase in rent versus your mortgage, you can apply that to your new home.
Gelman says 2026 could still be a tough market for buyers, especially someone seeking a newly built home because of lot and construction costs. Coming up on Total Information AM, Missouri lawmakers are considering whether to increase the amount of time school kids are physically active. I'll talk to the sponsor of new legislation. That after traffic and weather in 2 minutes.
How many of you think taxes will go up in the future? And if they do, who will get hit the hardest? Maybe it's you, headed for retirement. You've been saving in that 401k or IRA, and that money has never been taxed. And Uncle Sam is looking at that account like it's a big, juicy steak. What can you do about it? Join the All Financial Group for their Taxes in Retirement Seminar, Thursday, February 19th or Tuesday, February 24th. They believe a financial plan is not a retirement plan without a tax plan. Fund your retirement, not Uncle Sam's. Reserve your spot today by calling 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or go to yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
Hi, this is Charlie Brennan. Certainly in St. Louis, medical doctors know the best in their field. So it's impressive to know how many local doctors have sought vision care from Craig Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andrew Royer at Ophthalmology Associates. That's why they're known as the doctor's doctors. Birdie, Malhotra, Brusati, and Royer are expert at cataract surgery as well as the new multifocal and light adjustable lenses. They can also discuss with you the best preventive care and the best treatments for eye allergies, macular degeneration, and glaucoma. You may know I underwent LASIK surgery at this office 30 years ago. The doctors also have an experienced team of technicians to ensure your best eye care. 3 convenient locations in St. Charles, 270 Manchester, and Sullivan, Missouri. 314-966-5000, yourEyeDoc.com.
This hour of Total Information AM is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Total Information AM, Debbie Monterrey, Megan Lynch, Tom Ackerman on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
At 8:10, we head to the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center. Roger Brand, how do the roads look?
Well, mostly just slow, Megan. On the Illinois side, we've had a crash for a little while. Looks like it's still out there. Southbound 255 near New Pogue Road. There's still a backup approaching New Pogue, and it's slow to a point south of there. They cleared the crash. We had eastbound 70 at 94. Just a little busy now. Cave Springs through Zumbel. Southbound 61 crossing over onto 64 to Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Still busy. A little slowdown between Clarkson and Timberlake and from Lindbergh through the Inner Belt. The Inner Belt from Olive down to about the Parkway is the busiest part there. Westbound 64 Hampton to Hanley. Still pretty crowded after that. Not so bad. South 270 is cleared out. North 270 is still slow. Gravois to 44 and Big Bend all the way up to Ladue. 44 at Laclede Station and approaching Kings Highway just a little off the pace. Northbound 55. Slow stuff Bayless up through River to Pear. And westbound 64 is also better. Just slow west of 3rd Street getting onto the Poplar Street Bridge. Next update at 8:20 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Mostly cloudy today and colder than yesterday. There'll be a flurry or two around late, the high 26. Mostly cloudy early tonight with a flurry, then some clearing late and bitterly cold down to 4 above. Tomorrow, times of sun and clouds and bitterly cold, the high 18. Another frigid day Saturday with sunshine, some clouds, and a high again 18. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on 104.1 FM KMOX.
We have sunny skies this morning, 20 degrees in Florissant. It's 18 in St. Peter's, 18 downtown at the Arch. This is Total Information AM on KMOX. I'm Megan Lynch. A Missouri lawmaker wants to increase the amount of time that K through 12 students spend in PE. I'm joined by Republican Representative Bishop Davidson this morning. Thank you so much for being with us here on KMOX.
Thank you for having me, Megan. I appreciate it.
So your legislation would require all students to participate in a minimum of 60 minutes of physical activity each school day. What's the thought behind your proposal?
Yeah, so the proposal as it stands is a framework, and we're looking at kind of building out more of those details. But it really comes from this principle that physical education, physical activity, physical movement of our bodies ought to be a priority. And I don't mean seeing it as another course that we need to add here. I mean really considering that we've got reading, writing, math, and we should also consider physical activity at that sort of level and that sort of category of priority. And if we can get behind that, and we can get behind all of the data and the research that shows it improves learning outcomes, right? It improves mental health for our students, obviously improves their physical health, also helps with behavioral issues, that we can all get behind this principle of it being a priority, and then restructuring our school systems here in Missouri to reflect that prioritization.
Representative, do you know for the most part how much physical activity most students do currently get in Missouri?
I know that it's going down. I mean, in the schools, it's 30 minutes a day or 150 minutes a week at a elementary level. In high school, it's one of 24 credit hours, which means 2 semester classes in their entire 8 semesters. And then when I spoke to it going down, it's really outside of the classroom, right? And it may be more anecdotal, but we think about our own childhoods, or we think about the childhoods of kind of days gone by. And it was very normal. As soon as a kid got home from school, they weren't actually home. They were out running throughout the neighborhood, right, until dinner time or whatever it was. And that's just not the case anymore. Technology, social media, things have shifted, things have changed in a significant way. And we haven't shifted to adapt to those realities. And so that's what this legislation is asking us to consider.
What's your response to critics who have already said this could take away from key instruction at a time when student academic performance is under a lot of scrutiny in the state?
No, I think it's a good criticism. And when I went to the committee, I said, hey, I intend for this to become a House committee substitute. So that means we're going to change it a lot. And I invited them all to be a part of that conversation. But what I would say to that criticism is that it's not always quantity. Sometimes it's quality. And the data that shows how much more you can learn in fewer minutes because of activity. They found that students who were having issues with dyslexia, if they paused at the word that they struggled with, stepped aside and did just a couple minutes of physical activity, they were consistently and reliably able to work through all of the problems that were facing them in that moment. And so there's a lot of creative models, a lot of creative ways. I would actually like to leverage the creativity from our local districts and see kind of what they're able to come with. And we've talked about having kind of more of a marketplace, standards that exist, but then a marketplace of educators and school districts figuring out how to best meet those standards and of course, hopefully share best practices.
After I saw this, I did some of my own research, poked around to see what was out there about how physical activity correlates to grades. I found a 2019 study from the CDC that compared students with lower grades and students with higher grades. And those students with higher grades were more likely to engage in physical activity for at least 60 minutes, 7 days a week, and play on at least one sports team. What are your thoughts as far as, for kids that are already in sports, these student athletes, would they be exempt under your initial proposal?
That was a question asked on the committee. And, there is a legislative process in which you have to work with all sorts of people and all sorts of opinions. My belief is that we should not exempt them. And I think that research you just pointed to actually suggests that, right? It's 60 minutes, 7 days, right? And we're talking about the 5 days of the school week or the 4 days, depending on what district you're in Missouri. It's 7 days in addition to being on a sports team. And so I am not worried about sort of overworking the student. I think the student's going to be able to figure out what they can and can't accomplish in their extracurriculars. And I can say that there's value to me and a value that I believe in the 60 minutes daily. It's making sure that we fundamentally get their heart racing, right? Building their muscles, adding density to their bones, things like this, right? And I think in the learning environment, I think throughout the day, as you're learning, improves those learning outcomes tremendously. Not to mention, I think the social benefits of not just being on a team when you're talking about a sport, but the social benefits of being amongst your classmates and working to improve ourselves.
You mentioned something in your initial response, and that was behavior issues in schools. What have you heard from teachers on this, the correlation between physical activity and behavior in the classroom?
Yeah, one of those who testified on the committee. Well, so we had teachers who were testifying. Now, I will say they were PE teachers and former PE teachers, but then we also had the NEA representative there, and he testified for informational purposes. But his informational purposes had a big caveat, and that was that he believed, and as a representative of the largest teacher union in Missouri, they supported the principles and the ideas here. They didn't know if it required statute in order to accomplish that end, but they saw tremendous value in students moving their bodies more often, and enduring physical activity on a daily basis. I was just talking with him here at the Capitol again this week about it, and I mentioned the benefits for students, and I mentioned the benefits for parents. And he jumped in and he said, and teachers too. He said it makes their job way easier when they have a brain that's ready to absorb the information they're teaching, which is what physical activity does. It's not like these things are disconnected. Our brain is actually a part of our body. And he said, but also on the behavioral front, which is a growing problem here across our Missouri schools.
Representative, thank you so much. We'll be following this legislation.
Thank you.
That is Republican Representative Bishop Davidson of Missouri. Of course, this legislation in the works, a lot of discussion about having a minimum amount of physical activity for students each day. Still ahead on Total Information AM, we could have a rainy spring. We're going to hear predictions from AccuWeather lead long-range expert Paul Pastelok coming up in just a moment. And then Democrats are demanding changes in immigration enforcement by the federal government. It could force another government shutdown. We'll have a report on that. Let's see how things are moving on the roads with Roger Brand. He's in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, we're doing a lot better, Megan. If you're hitting the road right now, getting out of the house, do have a new minor crash on southbound 170 near Page. There's a little bit of a backup behind them, so just be prepared if you're headed through that area. Once you get past that point, it's still slow from about the Parkway on down to Highway 64. Eastbound 64, there's still slow stuff. It looks good out west, but it's still heavy from Lindbergh in through Hanley. Westbound 64, Clayton Skinker to Big Bend's a little busy, and then at Ballas. North 270, I call it north of Big Bend up to Ladue is still slow. 55, a couple of spots between Bayless and Virginia where it's a little heavy. Westbound 64, west of 3rd Street to the Poplars slow. And still a little bit of a slowdown southbound 255 past New Pogue Road where he had that earlier crash. Next update at 8:30 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
We're going to see some clouds today, and it is going to continue to be very cold. We could see a flurry or two late, a high 23 today. Tonight, we could get down to a low of 4 degrees. For tomorrow, bitterly cold with periods of clouds and sunshine, a high of 18, and pretty much the same on Saturday, a high again at 18 degrees. Right now, sunny skies, 18, downtown at the Arch.
KMOX, celebrating 100 years. Presented by Purina, your pet, our passion. Now, a KMOX pioneer.
Before KMOX became a powerhouse for news, talk, and sports, it helped shape early American entertainment through its vibrant hillbilly music era of the 1930s, 40s, and early 50s. The national champion Hillbillies, KMOX's own homegrown group, performed morning and late night shows that connected families across the Midwest. These programs captured the culture and spirit of the heartland and helped establish KMOX as a station for every listener.
From KMOX, the voice of St. Louis, Columbia's great station in the heart of the rich Mississippi Valley, we bring you Barnyard Follies with the national champion Hillbillies.
This era laid the musical foundation for the decades that followed and remains a cherished part of KMOX's early identity. The Hillbilly Music Era, a KMOX pioneer.
The new era of UFC on Paramount Plus continues. Live from Australia, featherweight champ Alexander Volkanovski.
He is an animal.
Defends his belt at home in an explosive rematch against Diego Lopez.
You gotta be kidding me.
And the always dangerous Dan Hooker. Throws down with powerhouse Benoit Saint-Denis in a high-action lightweight showdown.
There's never been anything like this.
UFC 325, Saturday, January 31st, only on Paramount+.
Let's go!
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Start the new year off on a healthier note by taking active liver supplements from New Nordic every day. Available online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com or at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meijer Grocery, or Wegmans.
You're back with Total Information AM here on KMOX. I'm Megan Lynch. We may still be in the deep freeze, but we are looking forward to spring, and AccuWeather has released its spring 2026 forecast. Joining me now, lead long-range expert Paul Pastelok. Paul, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Megan.
What kind of spring are we looking for?
Well, I think that we're going to go from one, extreme season of winter to maybe a pickup as far as spring goes in the rain department. So, which would be a good thing, because if you look at the totals, we're still kind of in a moderate drought for the region. We've had a couple of snow events, but still a drought continues across the area. And so getting some rain this spring is going to help out, I think.
I know we saw that in Missouri and parts of Illinois as well, drought conditions, but really over the last couple of years. Do we know at this point what kind of storms we may face, though?
Yeah, it could be a variety this year. It could come in different ways. First of all, you're dealing with some snow, which is great. I mean, we've been getting some storms. We're going a little bit above our earlier prediction that we had 14 to 20 for the winter season. We may get to 20, 25 inches of snow, and that's good for the ground. So that'll be helpful. The next episode will be some rain events that come in March and April. Some of those rain events could get a little heavy as we start connecting to the Gulf. And on top of that, we're not looking for really widespread severe weather because it'll be cool and stable, but I do think there'll be some severe weather that will help with some flooding downpours. So I do feel it'll come in different rates and different variety this spring.
When it comes to the temperatures that you're expecting, when will we see a significant warm-up heading into the spring?
Well, I think we will see some warm-ups in between the cool downs. I think we still got to get through February. I'm still a little worried about the polar vortex still making a last appearance for us here, bringing us a couple shots of cold in February. And then later February and March, we'll start to see the warm-up. That could lead to some snow melt, rivers coming up. They're down now, but they may come up pretty quickly and cause some river flooding in the early part of the spring season. Maintaining warm temperatures throughout the spring is going to be tough. I think we're going to see a series of cold fronts that will get us warm ahead of them, and then we'll get knocked down behind. So I don't see long stretches of warm weather, but I do see some surges coming along.
Any surprises that you're expecting this spring compared to past years?
Well, I look at this, I don't see a whole lot. I mean, typically in the Midwest, we're hoping and getting our spring because we're getting our planting done, and we want to make sure that we get enough moisture. I don't see anything unusual at this point. It's the cool downs. How severe are they going to be, going into maybe April and May? Could they bring a last frost or freeze a little later than it usually is across the Midwest? That would be the more surprising note, maybe a late surge of chill. But other than that, I think everything else going to queue that we hopeful because we want to get rid of this drought.
Obviously, big agricultural interests here in the Midwest. What would you tell farmers?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a little tough here and there, getting everything in, a little slow, a little delay here and there, especially depending on events. It's hard to time this far out, but you may get a couple events in a row that say, oh, man, I got to get out in the fields. Maybe not going to do it this week, one of those things, but next week might be better. And so I think there'll be some delays, but you're going to get better moisture. And I think that's what the farmers are hoping for, is a little bit more moisture. We got some over here over the winter, and I think we will get some here in the spring.
That is AccuWeather lead long-range expert Paul Pastelok joining us this morning here on KMOX. It's 8:27. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
DogFood.com. Attention all dog owners. If you have ever listened to the radio or TV for any length of time, you've probably heard of America's #1 dog supplement, Rough Greens. Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, Amazon best-selling author and founder of Rough Greens here. And if your dog suffers from bad breath, itchy skin, licking paws, joint pain, or low energy, the truth is their food is probably to blame. You see, all commercial dog food is dead food. That's why I created Rough Greens. One daily scoop gives your pup the live vitamins, omega oils, probiotics, and enzymes that will bring their food back to life. Don't believe me? Let your dog try it before you buy it. I'll send you a free Jumpstart trial bag, risk-free. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com. That's RUFFgreens.com. Use discount code NEWS. Don't wait. Give your dog the gift of vibrant health. Order now. It'll be at your house in a few days. Go to roughgreens.com. That's RUFFgreens.com. Discount code NEWS for your free Jumpstart trial bag today. Rough Green. We make any dog food better.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear they have missed out on the selling market. They are so relieved to learn September, October, and November are strong selling months. With low inventory and hopefully lower interest rates, this fall will be a hot one for real estate. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. You may have heard me say, why pay more than 4 for years? Now it's why pay more than 2, saving you even more money. Call me 314-441-4444. And remember, why pay more than 2?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Nevada.
Okay, I don't want to be mean, but if you're a guy and you just have a grimy, multiple times refilled bottle of Dial that's got the crusty soap on the outside, that's a red flag.
What if you just have a bar of Dial soap with no soap dish?
I never like the bar of soap.
What if you have one bar of soap and you take it from the shower to the sink, back to the shower? How would you feel good about going to that guy's house?
Oh my gosh, I think I would just leave without saying anything.
Chris Ranji, Amy Mark Scores. Weekdays at 9 on KMOX.
8:30, time for another check of the roads with Roger Brand in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, we still have some slow traffic, Megan, on northbound 270, but it's really just Doherty Ferry up to Ladue. South 270 is clear. Eastbound 70 and 64 look great out west, although it's a little busy at 5th Street and east of the Blanchard into Earth City on 70. 64, Lindbergh into Big Bend is heavy. South 170, still a little slowdown between Midland and Page, where we had an earlier minor crash. Both directions of 64 between the Parkway and, or 170 between the Parkway and 64 is still busy. Westbound 64, Clayton Skinker to Hanley still slow. North 55 is cleared out. Downtown, we look good. Westbound across the bridges, and southbound 255, there's barely a slowdown now south of New Poke Road. Next update at 8:40 from the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Thank you, Roger. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, we are headed into another cold snap. Considerably cloudy cold today with a flurry or two late. Expect a high only around 23 degrees. For tonight, we could see some stray flurries this evening, and we're getting into some dangerously cold temperatures. An overnight low only around 4 degrees. For tomorrow and Saturday, it's going to be bitterly cold, a mix of sun and clouds. Highs only reaching 18. Right now, that's where we're at. Sunny skies, 18 degrees downtown at the Arch. In the news, Senate Democrats are poised to block legislation that would fund the Department of Homeland Security and several other agencies that would bring the government a step closer to a partial shutdown if Republicans in the White House do not agree to new restrictions on President Donald Trump's surge of immigration enforcement. AP correspondent Ed Donahue reports on the status of budget negotiations.
A partial government shutdown seems more likely at the end of the week. Following the deaths of 2 people at the hands of federal agents in Minneapolis, Democrats want major changes to ICE.
We want to end roving patrols.
We need to tighten the rules governing the use of warrants.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer wants accountability.
Federal agents should be held to the same use of force policies that apply to state and local law enforcement and be held accountable.
A third demand?
We want masks off, body cameras on.
Republicans will need Democratic votes to keep the government open when funding runs out at midnight Friday. Texas Republican John Cornyn says they can have conversations about what additional oversight is required, what additional laws should be considered, but not at the expense of shutting down the government. Ed Donahue, Washington.
CBS's Jared Hill says the proposals Democrats want could be addressed in an executive order.
The administration might be working with Democrats to try and figure out a way to have some sort of executive action on the back end so that there could be changes implemented, not necessarily written in the legislation.
The last dispute over health care closed the government for 43 days. It's now 8:33.
In a world in need of a hero, one man rises to the challenge in style. He is.
Just driving the kids to soccer practice.
Make every day feel epic in the all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid with up to an EPA-estimated 619 miles of range on select trims, advanced tech, and class-leading interior space. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for more details.
And hey, come on, no cleats on the seats.
Spreadsheets, clunky software, 100 different logins just to run your business?
There's a better way. Odoo. One simple, connected platform that handles sales, inventory, accounting, and more, so you can focus on growing, not juggling. Make the switch today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Your Money Report now. It's sponsored by Amen Gantner and Capriano Elder Law Attorneys. Here's Bloomberg's Courtney Donahoe.
Auto giant Hyundai reported its lowest quarterly profit in more than 3 years. The company is facing persistent pressure from tariffs. Hyundai says tariffs costed about $2.9 billion last year. Turning to trading, stocks in the green on Wall Street with S&P futures on the rise. A number of tech giants, including Facebook parent Meta, are stepping up their spending on artificial intelligence. By the way, Apple reports quarterly earnings after the closing bell today. A new twist to the biggest takeover drama in years. Billionaire investor Barry Diller approached Warner Brothers Discovery last year, expressing interest in buying CNN. Sources tell the Wall Street Journal no serious action was taken on Diller's overtures, nor it was taken to Warner Brothers' board of directors. Warner is currently in the process of selling its movie and television studios to Netflix and plans to spin off its cable networks, including CNN, into a new company called Discovery Global. Courtney Donahoe, Bloomberg Radio.
Hey, Cardinal Cowboy here. Who would have thought a car crash would have led to charities, TV shows, and cheering with the best fans in the world? I'm thankful for every day. And so are my friends at Renner Garage Door. They've been turning garage doors from zero to hero since 1966. With help from trusted brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster, honest family-style service you can count on. So giddy up and get your free repair or replacement quote today. Giddy up!
R-E-N-N-E-R, R-E-N-N-E-R.
Soulard is going to the dogs. Make sure to bring your four-legged friend to the streets of Soulard for the 33rd annual Purina Pet Parade, the world's largest costume pet parade. It all starts at 12th and Allen, Sunday, February 8th at 1 p.m. And KMOX's own Dave Glover will be leading the pack as the parade's Grand Marshal. Sign up today to march in the parade with your dog. The event supports Open Door Animal Sanctuary. For more details, PurinaPetParade.com. Don't miss this annual St. Louis Mardi Gras tradition, sponsored by Purina.
Hey, Jeff, looks like your business is really booming, even in a tough time for businesses like ours.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, thanks to LendSeek, our business was able to take care of some outstanding bills and taxes and to purchase inventory and expand our product lines.
Wow. You know, my business needs working capital, but only from a reputable company that I can trust and count on. How does LendSeek work?
Fast and easy. Just apply at lendseek.com. Their AI lending platform gave my business access to over 100 funding programs with one simple application. And it costs nothing to apply.
At lendseek.com, you can receive business funding with no collateral, no prepayment penalties, and no restrictions on how you use the funds. Whatever your funding needs are, seek no more. Our AI lending marketplace has you covered. If you've been in business at least 1 year with annual revenue of at least $250,000, you could get the funding your business needs in as little as 24 hours. There's no obligation, so apply today at lendseek.com. That's LENDSEEK.com.
I'm Dave Glover, and I see clearly now thanks to the doctors, Dr. Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andy Royer. You can too. Just go to youridoc.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call us now. $30 billion was set aside for meso victims. And in most cases, your claim is settled out of court without a jury trial. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
For 100 years, you've welcomed KMOX into your cars, your kitchens, and your daily routines.
You've trusted us through breaking news, championship celebrations, and the stories that shaped our city.
You've listened during moments of joy and leaned on us when times were uncertain.
From overnight shifts to early mornings, from one generation to the next, you've made KMOX part of your life.
From everyone at KMOX, thank you, St. Louis, for 100 unforgettable years.
KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
This is 104.1 FM KMOX. Here's what's happening. The Federal Reserve pushed the pause button on its interest rate cuts Wednesday, leaving its key rate unchanged after lowering it 3 times last year. Senate Democrats poised to block legislation that would fund the Department of Homeland Security and several other agencies. It would bring the government a step closer to a partial shutdown. The Library of Congress adding 25 movies to the National Film Registry. They include The Truman Show, Clueless, The Karate Kid, and Pixar's The Incredibles. Coming up on Total Information AM, 2 big names in your digital life are getting a little more interactive for you. We'll tell you more. First, though, let's get an update on the roads with Roger Brand. He's in the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Well, things continue to improve out there, Megan. This traffic report's a service of Financial and Tax Strategies. If you're on northbound 270, it's really just north of Doherty Ferry up through Manchester to Ladue. If you're on eastbound 64 east of Lindbergh, still pretty crowded into Big Bend. South and northbound 170 between the Parkway and 64 is slow. Westbound 64, Clayton Skinker out to Hanley. There's still some volume left over there. North 55 looks good. Downtown, we look great. Westbound across the bridges, the rest of the highways look like we're in good shape. I'm Roger Brand of the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis Traffic Center.
Retirement shouldn't feel like balancing a checkbook while blindfolded. I'm Gary Goldberg, and my team helps you see the big picture so you can retire younger, richer, and with less anxiety. Because guessing is not a strategy. Tune in to Wealth and Wisdom with Gary Goldberg Saturday mornings at 7 here on KMOX.
We'll see more clouds as the day goes on. It's going to be cold with a high only around 23 degrees. And then tonight, we're going to dip down to a low of 4. Tomorrow, a high of 18. Right now, sunny 18 downtown at the Arch. Music buffs likely know about Pitchfork. Now the online music magazine is going interactive. Plus, there are some changes to another media site, Pinterest. Let's get the latest with Carrie Flynn, media reporter for the news agency Axios. Good morning, Carrie.
Hi, good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
For listeners who might not be familiar with it, tell us what Pitchfork is about.
Pitchfork is a just turned 30-year-old music magazine. It's online now. They've had print in the past. It's not really I don't read it all the time. I'll say my husband was a big reader of it because it's more like the indie music. I listen to a lot of Taylor Swift, a lot of mainstream. What Pitchfork is really known for is discovering new artists. And again, those independent hip artists, that's what they've been doing for the last 30 years. They got bought by Condé Nast, the big magazine conglomerate, a little over 10 years ago. And so they've been on a new journey as part of a conglomerate. And 2 years ago, they got folded into GQ, the men's magazine owned by Condé Nast. There's been a lot of change over at Pitchfork, but again, they've been around for 30 years and really are at the kind of forefront of new artists.
Tell us what they're doing when it comes to trying to connect more with the people that use them.
So this week, they launched their first ever paywall. And that's a big deal in online media, right? You're essentially restricting your content for a price. It's something that Condé Nast is very familiar with. Other their publishers do that. And Pitchfork decided to do that. But what's interesting about it, it's not just limiting the access you have to content. They added interactivity to it, as you said, so that people can essentially pay to participate, not just read. One part of that is that you can rate albums yourself. Pitchfork is known for giving 0 to 5-star reviews on albums. It's one of their kind of, again, their signature products. So think of what they do is kind of like Rotten Tomatoes for music. What Rotten Tomatoes does for movies, Pitchfork does for music. What they're doing now is that not just their staff will be rating albums, but you, if you're a paying subscriber, you could rate the albums yourself, and they're going to show an aggregated score of that. What you'll also be able to do as a member is comment on the site. That's something that when I spoke to the Pitchfork editors, they said is really important for them and really a philosophical shift. They have been known to be, they're ahead of the game. They're the tastemakers and everything. And they kind of put their stuff out there and they're like, here you go. And they don't really have this conversation with their audience. Now with this new paywall, that's what they're really encouraging, creating a community.
I'm curious if you're seeing more online publications and social media sites looking for this greater sense of community and connection.
Definitely. It's all about community. It's not just talking at your readers. It's talking with your readers. You want people, if they're going to choose to pay what Pitchfork's price is, it's $5 a month, that you make that $5 truly rewarding and feel like you want to spend the $5, not just because you're accessing great reviews and information, but because you get access and you're a part of this club and network. There's this platform called Substack, and they've really leaned to the game. They're this platform for newsletters, but the newsletters that do some of the best work on Substack are ones that lean into community. They have merch, right? People are wearing hats of the Substack they subscribe to. They're participating in these chats, like these chat rooms that different writers choose to run. So that's what a lot of publishers are leaning into. As we start to get more fragmented in media, where there's so many different publications, and not just when Pitchfork started 30 years ago, you could probably name all the major music publishers. Now there's so many different writers. And so Pitchfork wants to help foster their loyal fans.
On the business side of this, how much does Pitchfork really need this revenue to stay viable today?
The ad market is really tricky these days. Like I said, there's so many different outlets and places that big brands could spend their money. So relying on that traditional system that media has run on for many, many years now of ad revenue is not as stable as it used to be. So they're very much diversifying their revenue. They want to get that subscription base. It also feeds into each other. When you're a paying subscriber, that means that they have your name, they have your email, they have your location. That also makes it really insightful for advertising. So that really helps build each other. I also heard from the team that they want to get more into live events. It's something that Pitchfork used to be known for, their big signature music festival. I don't know if that's coming back, but they see fostering that as well. And perhaps, again, that will be ticketed and that will be a new way to make money. So it really is an incredibly bold bet they're making because it's their first ever paywall. It's not something that their readers are used to, but it's incredibly important for the bottom line.
I want to look at another platform that you've been covering, and that's Pinterest. Making some changes at the top. I have to be honest, I did not know that Pinterest was still so popular. So I'm really curious to learn more about what they see their business model going forward.
Pinterest, I have been fascinated to watch their rise as a company. You know, they're publicly traded these days. And I'll chat with people who'll be like, wait, Pinterest still popular? I'm like, yeah, it's actually a publicly traded company. You can buy Pinterest stock if you're so bullish on it if you want to. And they last reported in their earnings, they have 600 million monthly active users. They do have, they're not as big as Meta, as Facebook, obviously, but they still have a really sizable population. What's different about their model versus others is they're really leading in the shoppability. The fact that you may have used Pinterest to turn to inspiration where you just got engaged and you're thinking about planning your wedding. You go to Pinterest and you're like, what dress do I want to wear? What flowers do I want? They not only want to provide that inspiration, they want to turn it into a transaction. They're like, here's where you could buy that dress. And maybe that's a little extreme to say you'll buy it on Pinterest immediately, but they want to help really connect that commerce element of it. And that's where they see themselves being more useful as a tool for people, but also clearly would be a great financial win for them if they can help really do that end-to-end discovery to buying.
Which part of their community, which segment is asking to have that experience?
good variety of people really are. We're so used to now doing more online shopping, though I will note that the vast majority of transactions, I hear this again and again from brands, do happen in person, right? Even though we have this rise of online shopping. But people are more used to swiping on their phone and click to buy. Companies like Shopify have helped do that. The fact that you could buy something on your phone, you're using something like Apple Pay, and it's such a seamless experience. So really it's just become more mainstream across the board. And it's something that obviously mobile first consumers like Gen Z and the younger generations are incredibly used to, where it's not as wild and far-fetched that you'd be making an easy purchase on your phone. It's something that, again, Pinterest is really committed to. We have platforms like Instagram getting into shoppability, and also TikTok Shop is an incredibly popular medium that they've really leaned into more live streaming, and they have brands big and small on there selling.
Well, and it's interesting when you look at the new people that Pinterest has brought in, Lee Brown, formerly of DoorDash and Spotify, and then also one of their new marketing folks from Amazon.
Correct. Two really big names, like heavyweights that they've just brought on board. As you said, Lee Brown, who's now taking on a newly formed role of chief business officer. He has that experience at DoorDash, which clearly is a great commerce tech company, and Spotify, which is like a cool discovery, like has a lot of good brand recognition and clout in the space, and really does like bring positivity and fun to the space. That's something that Pinterest wants to lean into. And their new chief marketing officer told us that she's already thinking about their next big campaign. They very much have leaned into that inspiration. Their CEO has invested a lot into building a business around positivity and really like happiness of a product. It's not about doom scrolling at Pinterest. They want you to scan Pinterest and they want you to be happy in what you see and happy enough that you want to buy something, right? So they want to help create that narrative out there and also execute it on it well. And so that's both of those new hires' big job this year.
That is Carrie Flynn, media reporter for Axios. Carrie, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Still ahead on Total Information AM this hour, new federal work rules for food benefits kick in this weekend in Illinois. It's already happened in Missouri. We're going to get some perspective from Operation Food Search COO Carlton Adams coming up next here on KMOX.
Big game, big screen, big energy at Ballpark Village, Sunday, February 8th. Enjoy the big game like you're in the end zone, featuring in-arena touchdown celebrations, fan cams, contest VIP packages, and more, hosted by RDJ and DJ Dex. Save up to $10 on tickets with code KMOX. Tickets and event details at stlballparkvillage.com/events. For more information, KMOX.com/events.
I'm Megan Lynch. Thanks so much for joining me this morning for Total Information AM here on KMOX. New work rules for federal food assistance, commonly called SNAP, start this Sunday in Illinois. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has said it's an effort to root out fraud and people taking advantage of the system. The rules expand work requirements for adults without young dependents, requiring paid work, volunteering, or training for at least 80 hours a month. The same rules went into effect in Missouri at the beginning of November. So let's talk about it with Operation Food Search COO Carlton Adams. Carlton, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Megan.
What have you seen in Missouri, for example, since this went into effect? It went into effect in November?
That's correct. So a couple of things have happened. As you know, in Missouri, we were also impacted by a tornado, and we still feel some of those effects. But to your point, with the increased work requirements, there's an expectation that up to 150,000 Missourians could lose some or all of their benefits. And that's about 1 in 4 that are using SNAP benefits now. Part of the reality on the ground, also to your question, is that we have seen continued increased volume at primarily food pantries, but also food banks that are trying to get more food in so that we can serve the community through our agency partners like food pantries. And that has been consistent really since last year and primarily in the last quarter of the year. And that continues to be the case.
When you look at who is primarily impacted by this, give us a picture of the individuals that have been affected.
So when think about who, in fact, gets SNAP benefits, there are a few things that we need to keep in mind. So when we take a snapshot of who receives those benefits, more than 40 million people across the country receive the benefits. 16 million of them are children, 8 million are seniors, and 4 million are non-elderly adults that have disabilities. So it's very significant. 80% of households receiving those benefits have at least one working family member, typically in low-paying jobs. So, again, if you look at a distribution of who receive the benefits, out of 100 people, 39 would be children, 20 would be elderly folks, and 10 would be disabled people that are unable to work.
Based on what you've seen in Missouri just over the last couple of months, how do you think this could impact Illinois residents in our area?
Well, we think, that hit to Illinois residents is going to be, in that similar 1 in 4 folks may see a reduction in their benefits. And so the charitable food system, as an example, that exists in many forms, including food banks and food pantries, has been stepping up and will continue to have to step up so that we can get food to folks, nutritious food in particular, to folks that are in need. The expectation that the economic impact is going to be significant, loss of jobs. We've seen, 30% increase in food pricing in the last 5 years. So it's going to be harder with less benefits for folks to stay on top of bringing food into their family home.
I know this is a little outside of the scope of what you do at Operation Food Search, but have you heard anecdotally people talking about, the availability of jobs or training or volunteer opportunities so that they can fulfill the requirement to have those hours?
Well, we do know that, the job market, while there's still, I think, officially job creation happening, we know that jobs are tougher to get. And, we hear that, like you said, anecdotally through our pantry partners and other folks in the community. Volunteer opportunities, I think they continue to exist, but that's harder to do when you're working more than one job or trying to keep up. So, those challenges persist. And we know that the gig economy is something that may be holding people down in the short term, but even that is starting to dry up as people lose jobs and they have less money to spend, for takeout food and things like that. So the challenges continue to persist and to grow.
You mentioned, trying to step up and help people who may be impacted by this. How will it impact Operation Food Search's work over the coming months?
Well, one of the things that we are going to do is do what we do best, more aggressively. One of the things that we did benefit from, in a perverse way, I guess, so to speak, is that we did have some fairly significant donations at the end of last year because, with all the things that we've talked about, people from this region are incredibly generous. And so what we will be doing is working with our partners, so those that donate food to us and other items that we can distribute to the community to try to move more into the community, collaborate more with other food banks and other food insecurity organizations to try to make sure that we have as much distribution of assistance and food as we can. We use, we have programs like our mobile farmers market, which we've used as a mobile pantry, meaning free food for the community. We're trying to expand that work as well. So there are a number of things that we're trying to do to expand, but it really does rely on our community continuing to be generous, those that can, with their time and their treasure, so that we can get, as much assistance out to the community as we can to keep our broader community strong.
This morning here on KMOX, we were reporting about the possibility of another government shutdown. Are you concerned that it could impact this situation with SNAP benefits?
We are not concerned. So one of the things, because the USDA's budget and the SNAP budget were approved, we don't expect that the potential government shutdown will impact SNAP benefits as they're currently calculated. So we're not expecting that to have that impact. But of course, if there's a government shutdown, it will potentially touch the pay of folks in the region. And so that could be a concern. So anything like that does have other reverberations through the community that we're concerned about.
That's Carlton Adams with Operation Food Search. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Megan. Have a great day.
You too. Coming up tomorrow on Total Information AM, sports are big business. We're going to learn about a new master's program at WashU that will prepare you to compete.
An attempt to cool tensions in Minnesota after the killing of Alex Preddy over the weekend. We're going to talk to Major Garrett about the response from Washington on that. Also, the Billikens are playing some terrific basketball. Huge game against Dayton tomorrow. And we're going to talk to Matt Pauley. All of that and more coming up on the Chris and Amy Show next on KMOX.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Money, sponsored by Wesley Financial. The housing market tends to hibernate during the winter.
Nobody wants to move when it's 1 degree outside.
If you want to move in the new year, Drew Wishover of the Inspired Title Group says you can use the January lull to get a leg up on spring home buying season.
See, the areas maybe you want to live in. Maybe it's a good time to do some, home renovations and get your property in tip-top shape so you can get the top dollar for your house.
I'm Rob Hart.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-38